Hello, astrology friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and I thank you so much for choosing me to lead you through the energies of 2024. This is a great honor for me. This is my biggest work every year. I put all my heart in it. I purify, cleanse, pray, research, and hopefully those horoscopes or this horoscope will be useful for you. This is the introduction to show you how to use those videos and to give you some moral directions so you are not freaked out or scared or put astrology like the end for everything, or that is the most important thing. No, we have free will. But first, how do you use this video? I always advise you, if you know your time of birth, to find out your ascendant sign, your moon, and your sun sign. Your sun sign, most of you know it. When you say I'm a Virgo, I'm a Gemini, that's your sun sign, the month you were born in. What sign was the sun in when you were born, which stays for a month. But you see, everyone in the same month is the same sign like you. Your moon sign and the sun sign is a lot more to do with free will. So looking at your horoscope from the sun sign will give you an idea about the things you actually want, your free will, what your spirit wants, and how the more rational approach, and also a lot about career. In the ancient past times, astrologers never looked at the sun sign when looking at the horoscope from the sun sign, because the sun was the father only and God. But nowadays, more and more, we have free will and we make our own decisions, especially in the last few hundred years, the Western society as well, and the more developed, there is more free will. So the sun sign really does work. But then you have the moon sign, where the moon is in what sign it is when you were born. And the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. You can find out your moon sign. You need to know your day, place, birth, place of birth, approximate time. The moon sign horoscope feels even more personal. And it's because it changes much faster, it's more personal. It shows your personality in this lifetime. It shows how you're conditioned from past lifetimes. There's a bit less free will there. So often the events there are a bit more set in motion, more set in stone a little bit, but we always have free will. And the moon is our soul and how we emotionally react. And most especially women or more sensitive men will definitely feel the prediction from their moon sign, because many times there might be things happening to us objectively around, but if it's not affecting our moon, we're not going to experiencing it so emotionally. And whatever affects our moon, this is what becomes truly the focus. So whatever our feelings are, that's where all the energy goes. So it's so important, the moon sign. Or people who are born at night, before the sun rose or after the sun set, like I'm born, they would react very strongly to their moon sign because they're ruled by the moon. Or people born during the day, from sunrise till sunset, they would react more strongly to the sun as well. But the moon will definitely show you, especially for women and people born at night, more sensitive, intuitive people, what is the focus of the year for them. And the ascendant sign is where most astrologers look at the horoscope, because this is the most set in stone. The ascendant sign changes every 2 hours. This is very, very, so people born in the same month with you will have the same sun. In the same 2.5 days with you, the same moon. But how you'll be different from them is that every 2 hours, or sometimes every hour, the ascendant sign changes. This is what sign is on the horizon when you were born. So the ascendant sign is the most personal sign. It's the most specific for your incarnations. And it's the one that is directly related to the lessons you have to learn in this incarnation, from past lifetime connection as well. So the ancients and modern astrologers would always check first the sun, the ascendant sign or rising sign, like we call it. But you need to know your time of birth within 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes at least, correctly. Time and minute, the hour and the minute. So go to astro.com or to Astrolada. I have a birth chart calculator. Put your details, preferably if you know your time of birth, that's the best. And then go to the table below all the charts and write the sign and the degree and the minute of every sun, moon, or ascendant sign, of your sun, moon, and ascendant. And if you buy a package of videos, always start with the ascendant, give priority to it. Then if you're day born to the sun, if you're night born to the moon, or even if you're like me, born at the night, but you have a stellium, which means many planets in the same sign as your sun, that will be very potent predictions for you. But always the ascendant is the main one to look, because it's the most material results that you see. From the ascendant is definitely, because the ascendant is the physical body, the point of incarnation of the soul into the body. So it will give you the most practical material results. The moon, the most psychologically visible ones. And the sun, especially if you're born during the day, will have a few other planets in the same sign. Again, especially for what you want to see and experience and what your free will can achieve now. So write the sign. It's always like it says sun or ascendant, sun, moon. Write the sign and the degree. And then when you're watching the video of either your sun, moon, or ascendant, I will be mentioning when what I'm talking about is for the whole sign or whether for specific degrees. And every time we're giving you a PDF, on this PDF, you'll be having the degrees that will be very important for you next year. When you hear your degree mentioned, maybe I'll notice, maybe I'll say Mercury will become retrograde from 15 Gemini from 15 Aries to 30 Aries. And if I say, if you are Cancer sun, well, if you're watching the video for Cancer, for example, and I mentioned from 15 till 30 degrees Cancer, Mercury will square your sun or moon or ascendant, and this is what it means. Then really pay attention for when it is and what I'm talking about. You're gonna feel that. So when you hear your specific degrees, that will be strongly felt. When I speak more generally, it will be more like the background at which your life is developing, the general background of the consciousness for this year. But when I mention specific degrees, guys, open your eyes. And sometimes one planet will affect 1 degree. For example, Uranus can affect just the last 3 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio this year, and Aquarius, while Pluto will affect just the first 2 degrees of those signs. So not everyone will be affected with specific degrees. Maybe you should be lucky, It's kind of like, no planets will be impelling you or compelling you to do something. But, so listen when I mention your specific degrees. This will be the most important thing. And now that you know how to use this video, I just want to tell you something. Don't make astrology your idol. I've been doing astrology for 20 years now. Can't explain to you how much worries and stress at the first 10, 15 years I was doing it, every time fearing a transit, every time over expecting from a good transit, fearing a bad transit. Don't. It's a waste of energy. And I try to give you both. And always when I expect something, I get surprised. I expect like this, something very different happens, again within the same energy of the planet that is activating you. So I try to explain to you the energy of each planet. Just like Pluto can be psychological transformation, it can be big release of traumatic events from the past. It can be total change of your shading of your skin and transformation, but it can be power struggles. It can be being betrayed on the lower level. I try to mention all the possibilities, but I don't want you to get fixated on the negative ones. Actually we have free will, and I've noticed it over and over, and how the planets manifest depends on your free will. And that means that, say you're starting a Pluto transit, like I said, if you know that there will be possibility for more power struggles, having more fierce existential, fight or flight responses, more dread sometimes. I tell you what is the higher vibration, so there is ways for you to channel this energy, actually to help with the cleansing and with the detoxification of the body that Pluto wants to do, and the soul and the feelings. So I give you I give you advice and remedies for everything. If you take it in your hands, if you don't get overwhelmed, even if sometimes difficult things happen, you're going to, use it to your highest ability. But you don't even need to know astrology. People intuitively know in such situations what to do, or people with good hearts, people that are more psychically in tune, people that are kind, that are connected to source. They don't need astrology. No matter what comes, why should you? Maybe astrology is more to give you direction. What are the right things to do this year? What are the things to maybe avoid? That's how you use it. Not so much as, oh, I'm going to get sick. Oh, I'm going to separate with a partner. Don't. God always has the best in mind for you. Your higher self always leads you to the best path. Usually when big dramas happen, because it's a person has taken on the wrong path. It's because a person is not making efforts. You don't have to be like a monk, live prayers and give your riches away or whatever. You need to be a decent human being. And most of the people on the planet are decent human beings who are trying every day to help those they love and those around them, to be of use to others, to be helpful to others in some way, and who are trying not to succumb to the temptation so much, And if there is even an ounce of you trying to be a little bit of a better person, a little bit not to those weak things, whether it's bad habits, whether it's to talk about others behind their back, or to, something, or to judge others. Every day when you're trying to stop from such things, it's not big efforts, it's just consistent. You're already living in an energy of self-improvement. You're being a decent, good being. And usually, all the transits, even the hardest ones, they're reworked to something really good. It's good to know when there is a more difficult period, why, and Saturn transit of things. God, I thought I'm depressed. Like I've been depressed for 2 years and I thought I'll always be like that. It's just temporary. That gives you peace of mind and hope. But always know, whatever is in the stars, God is above everything else. The sphere of the entities and the angelic hierarchies and the Christ energy is above it all. So when you have a strong connection and love, it always will work out for the best. And you can even reverse anything that is being said, anything that might happen. But of course, you reverse it by having awareness and connection by prayer with Christ or with the higher powers, and by making daily little efforts to be a better person. And the easiest ways, do little kinds of acts of kindness to others. Try to be of use to others. Try to be kind with them, to be tolerant to them. Then honestly, even the hardest transits work out for the best for you. And the good transits, they're really good. So that's it. Thank you so much. I hope let's do a little prayer to begin, to bless everyone. Thank you for everyone. And I call on the higher powers, on the Christed energy, on the angelic hierarchies, on the higher self of everyone, on their departed loved ones, to protect everyone who is here, to help them hear the information that will uplift their spirit, that will prepare them, not only prepare them, but help them realize they have free will to do the highest and most positive manifestation of whatever comes their way. Let this information that flows through those videos be directly connected to the high hierarchies and give answers to everyone involved here, so that everyone can come out after watching those videos a better human being, more optimistic, more hopeful, prepared for whatever it's come, with wisdom, with excitement, with passion, to believe in themselves more. And everyone who's been in touch with this information to improve as a human being. Amen. Let's start. Gemini Sun, Moon, Rising 2024. As always, I love to start with the overall influences that will affect you the whole year. Because when you hear what the whole picture will be, like the background of everything that will be happening, then you have a direction. And then you know where the purpose for this year is leading you so you can take the fullest advantage and benefit from those energies of the year. And then we go to more specific degrees, to more specific periods of time. But as always, planet Saturn is like the small hand of the clock that points really the pivotal theme of this year. And it's the heavier energy. It's a planet of karma. It's a planet of being forced sometimes into something, but it is your duty. It's your karmic duty to do it. So you cannot neglect the area where Saturn is transiting. And for the last, from already 2023, Saturn has entered the 10th house, the 10th sign from Gemini. Here it is. If this is the beginning of the horoscope, you're Gemini, Saturn has entered from 2023, and the whole 2024, it will be at the top of your horoscope. It becomes extremely powerful, Saturn. This year, this is one of the most potent influences for you, because the 10th house and the first house, your sign, of course, are considered the most pivotal points in the horoscope, the most visible, the most potent to manifest. So already we have a sign. There will be possibility for very strong manifestations for many Geminis. And visibility and achievements. Saturn stays the whole 2024 there and into big part of 2025. And Saturn is there on the top of your horoscope just once every 28 years for about 2.5 years. So this is a rare opportunity, not an easy one, because who is overseeing the whole of your chart right now? Saturn. Whoever is on top, it represents the highest authority, represents the influence that is one of the strongest, and that will be Saturnian, one of the influences. You're going to have some really helpful influences from the middle of the year that will become, I can say, the year of Sagittarius. Probably you're the sign that will have the most potent, important, life-changing developments. One of the signs probably, especially when it comes to Saturn and Jupiter, the two very important planets. So Saturn is the overseer. So you have to be, first of all, careful that you follow the rules of Saturn. What are the rules of Saturn? Saturn abides by the law. Saturn follows the rules. Saturn makes sure that everything is done legally, that everything is in compliance with administrative law, with moral law. Saturn is the human law, but also the higher vibration of Saturn is the higher moral law. So you have to listen to your conscience. Maybe your conscience will be stronger than at other times. On the high vibration, this is great because you have a strong awareness of what can be damaging, what can be negative. Strong feeling like the inner moral teacher within you is powerful. On the negative side, though, sometimes people take it to an extreme and they can become really a bit too self-critical, a bit too self-judgmental, a bit too dissatisfied with themselves. Or if they're not doing this themselves, a figure can appear in your life, or has already appeared for some of you, which is Saturnian, someone in authority, someone from a government institution, a boss, or a father figure, or someone else in your life who is pushing you, who is demanding more from you. Because Saturn ultimately, with its highest manifestation, wants to push you to force yourself to be more disciplined, to be more responsible, to take a more serious approach to life, so your bigger potential can be worked through. Saturn is, I always compare Saturn as the pressure that creates the diamond. And it can be pressure of external circumstances or internal circumstances. Often when it's in the 10th house there is usually a figure that is kind of putting this pressure on you. Or if you have a strong internal authority voice, this is yourself that is pushing yourself to do better, to organize yourself better, to achieve more. And because this is the top of the horoscope, this is the top, it represents your highest possible achievements. So some of you Geminis, especially ones that are probably a bit more mature, probably after the Saturn return, which happens around 29, 30. Or even if they're older, 40s, 50s, 60s, they tend to, people like that are older tend to have learned better the lessons of Saturn, so they can fulfill the responsibilities of Saturn, to be organized, to contribute to the world, to be more disciplined in an easier way. So these transits don't feel so difficult or stressful for you. Usually younger people can find it a bit, especially people, or even if they're not younger, who are not used to heavier responsibilities, can feel pressure, who are not used to having their life in control, having kind of ability to manage, to organize their life, then it feels a little bit difficult. But this is the period when the universe wants to teach you exactly that. Your higher self is ready for that. So if your personality is not ready for that, it will feel like external pressure. Whether you want it or no, you'll be forced to take life in your hands, to be more responsible, to look more seriously towards what you want to accomplish. And the 10th house most often manifests through our career, through our worldly ambitions. How can we improve the environment around us? How can we contribute to the world? This is the highest vibration. Our karmic duty towards the world. What is the big work we're here to do? Saturn is asking you to perfect it, to master it. And if you are doing something that is probably one of the stepping stones for you to achieve this direction in life, but not the exact, it is just a stepping stone, not the final or the major opus work, then some of you during this period of Saturn in the 10th house can start feeling dissatisfied with their career, with their current position, because yourself internally is telling you, is trying to tell, and even some problems start happening at the career if it's time for you to push beyond your comfort zone and take on more responsibility or something that you've always wanted to. Even if you're not aware of what it is, Saturn can be pushing you towards a different direction. It doesn't have to necessarily be totally changing your career or job. It can just mean something, reorganizing it, restructuring it. But for some of you, it will be a big change. I've seen people quit, like when Saturn was transiting the 10th house of a friend of mine. She was a lawyer, and suddenly she was offered a position with so much more responsibilities, and she was feeling very dissatisfied. She loved that job for a long time, but she was saying, like, I don't feel a challenge, I just feel bored. The atmosphere there became more hostile and friendly. I don't feel appreciated anymore in my office there. So she's been feeling for almost a year those feelings while Saturn was nearing and already in the 10th house, because it's not a fast, it's 2.5 year period sometimes. So suddenly out of the blue, she got offered to be governor of town. And that's a position with so much more responsibilities. And so someone who's been working hard, who's been giving the best they can do from themselves, might get very big promotions or rise in influence in society, a rise in position, in worldly position and social status. But that's usually if you've deserved it, because Saturn rewards better than anyone else, better than any other planets, but those that have done the hard work before. And I can understand some of you would say, I haven't had an opportunity to contribute to the world or to study or to work before that. Maybe you're a mother, or maybe you had health problems, But Saturn now will put this pressure on you to see, even if you're not, you can still contribute to the world. Some of the hardest job is being a parent. Saturn can bring further, more ambitious parenthood, parenting ambitions, and more disciplined in that, taking on more responsibility. But somehow you become harder on yourself to perform better, to take on more responsibility, to feel more useful to yourself and to the world. And it's like climbing the ladder there. More ambitious people will actually become even more ambitious. They would work harder. They would put so much, burning the midnight oil, as they call it, during Saturn in the 10th house. So as I was telling you, my friend took this position and she said, wow, it just came, whatever, when Saturn gives you something in the 10th house, yes, it can give you a lot of recognition, a lot of respect from others, a position of more authority if you're at this stage in your life that you've deserved it. But it always comes with extra responsibilities. It always comes with the beginning pressure till you master this new role, or till you learn to streamline, to make more effective, to simplify it, to make it more automatic, to learn the ins and outs of whatever this area of career you're pursuing or activity. 10th house is not just career. Not everyone is a career person. 10th house is your actions, your responsibilities, So for most of you, there will be increased pressure to perform at a higher responsibility, efficiency. And Saturn can, either can promote you, or those of you who are younger, who haven't had opportunity for this, as I said, it can push you to pursue a career. It can push you to be hard on yourself and discipline, because always the beginning of any kind of your great work or whatever you to contribute to the world, the beginning of new actions and responsibilities is hard till you learn it by heart and so on. But don't lose faith and heart, even if it feels overwhelming at moment, even if you feel judged or observed closely. At many moments you might notice that there is someone breathing on your neck, like an authority figure, expecting more from you, or might be society, or I don't know, whatever position you have. While younger people, for example, for this can push them to be more ambitious. For example, if they've been studying till now, they can start some internship. They can start to I've even seen younger people, be still in university when Saturn transits the 10th house, because this is working towards your ambitions. This is building your social status muscles for later in life, gaining more prestige. And for those of you that are already in careers that are satisfying, that you found and you like them, even if some complications or delays can appear, you have to be patient with that. But if your heart is fully in it, the universe will not deprive you from whatever you're doing, because you feel fulfilled from it, you feel happy from it. Unless it's truly not what you're supposed to do, then Saturn can force you into a different direction from external circumstances. But again, if this is happening, don't lose heart, because there is something better. Believe me, it might take some time till you see what it is. But there is something better. Wow, people who have been, people with social position in some sort, who have been abusing their standing in some way, they can feel more like the whip of Saturn, because Saturn gives you what you deserve. So maybe you have a Gemini boss, Gemini rising boss, or whatever, or another figure that that has been overbearing, always criticizing, always, instead of using their power and status to help others, using it to benefit themselves for selfish reasons or to make others feel bad. Well, you see such Geminis or Gemini rising people, even moon, or you might see for such that they have a fall from grace, because Saturn only gives what we deserve. It's not like some other planets that can, like Jupiter, we always have some good karma from past lifetimes and some bad karma, some good actions, some bad actions. Jupiter always brings some of the good things. Well, Saturn, it just wants you to become more humble. That's one of the areas of Saturn, and to Saturn's energies servant. So to be with the actions that you take in the world, to be of service to others, to be, even if you have very high social position and authority, to be of service to others. So even if you have no social position, Saturn asks you from its highest manifestation, whatever talents or skills or whatever actions you can take, to do it to serve others, to be useful in some way. This is the words for Saturn: being useful, being of service, being kind of get something done. So some might have fall from grace if they've not used their actions, their skills in the right way, or some blockages, some kind of more difficult blockages in their careers, while others can have really rise thanks to their previous efforts. And many times when Saturn is in the 10th house, one can be working towards some goal, towards some project, for example, in career. As I said, those who are already in good careers and they like what they're doing, usually it becomes more demanding during that time. Again, there can be more responsibility given to them, or that they personally take on and create new projects. And usually the projects might feel laborious, a bit boring at times, but they're necessary. I remember when I had Saturn transiting my 10th house, I was already doing astrology and I loved what I was doing, but I became dissatisfied with how I was running the business. So if you have your own business, that's also the house of achievements, how you are as a business owner, how you are as a manager of your life and your business. So I became quite dissatisfied because I was spending a lot of time in activities that were checking hundreds of emails, answering individually, answering every single comment. And I was getting very kind of bogged down in details, sending orders and so on, administrative stuff. So I said, okay, you can either take on the more work with Saturn in the 10th house, or the other option is another two really beautiful words that I like for Saturn: streamline, organize, automate, simplify, cut down, especially, because the workload can increase. So you need to learn to prioritize, another Saturn word. To prioritize what is the most important work. What is the work that has to be done? Even if you're a stay-at-home person, you can feel that that you need to simplify your day, that you need to simplify and kind of regulate and routinize somehow your day and your worldly activities in some way, to organize yourself better. That's why simplify, streamline, restructure. So that's what I did then. I decided to restructure my whole business. So over those 2 years, I worked on a very long-term project with my career, restructuring the whole website, how it worked, so I didn't have to do all those small things, and I prioritized the most important things I had to do. And you all know which is the most important thing. So during that time, it will be very wise to chop up the other time-wasting things. Saturn is a planet that does not like wasting time. It wants to be punctual. It wants to be straight to the point. It wants to get done the most important work. And it wants to do, that's why you do some prioritization, restructuring, or maybe it will happen without you first warning it. It will happen on its own at your work and concerning your work, career, responsibilities in some way. But the person can be extremely effective. So I made my business much more streamlined. As I said, I automated a lot of things, and I achieved one of the project that I had for many years, and it manifested, because Saturn crystallizes. You're able to manifest it, to crystallize it, while Saturn is transiting the 10th house. And usually you start seeing the results of it when Saturn moves into the 11th house of the rewards. So don't be afraid of hard work during that time, putting the hours. I was quite busy during that time. You don't have to work like a donkey, even though donkeys are ruled by Saturn, but you have to be consistent every day, a little bit towards your goal. And that's how little by little I created my transit calendar, which is one which pays the bills for the whole family, for 3 families currently. So you can work towards a goal step by step and dedicate a lot of your time, and Saturn will give you the consistency, the discipline to follow through. And of course, sometimes some people, some Gemini will be more under the influence of Neptune. Those are the late Geminis, the last 3-4 degrees. We'll speak about them at the end. They're much more, they won't feel yet so much the Saturnian influence, maybe a little bit it's coming. They'll be under the influence of Neptune, so they can feel less focused, more confused as to the direction. But most other Geminis, they're under this structurizing, organizing influence of Saturn. And sometimes Saturn can give problems, though, with authority figures, with father figures, with bosses when it's there. The Geminis that have to be a bit more careful are the ones that Saturn passes in 2024 from 3 till 20 degrees Gemini. 3 till 20 degrees Gemini. But sometime after February, February after, so from March, April, only those from 12 till 20 degrees will feel Saturn till the rest of the year. Because Saturn will go back to the 12th degree and on to the 20th degree. Those who are from the first 12 degrees Gemini, they actually felt the square from Saturn. Because if you're here, Gemini, you know, Saturn is making 90-degree aspect. It's been doing it in 2023 already for the first, approximately for the first 10 degrees, you know. And they probably felt a lot of the things that I was talking about. And sometimes there are obstacles or delays with those career things or with authority figures, you know. And now it will be from March onwards, so from 3 till 12, they'll still feel it the first 2-3 months of the year, but it's the last hit of Saturn. So by that time, those lessons of Saturn will weaken, they'll be resolved, you start seeing results. While from 12 degrees till 20 degrees Geminis, they'll have the square to their Sun, Moon, or Ascendant in 2024 and into the first few months of 2025. So they'll feel very strongly the influence of Saturn. But they would have as well help, all of them, from 12 till 22 degrees. There will be an incredible help for them the second part of the year. So, you know, this year, no matter what Saturn is doing, Jupiter will be in your sign from June onwards. And in exactly those degrees, Jupiter will be helping a lot. So you'll have a double whammy influence. And it means that there will be growth and opportunities coming to you from Jupiter. But you just shouldn't rush too much. And you should measure 3 times before you cut. I would advise this for all Geminis when Saturn is in the 10th house. He is a hard taskmaster. He demands precision. He demands correctness, checking 3 times, making sure this is the right thing, maybe some research, some good preparation, and then acting. And don't get frustrated, even though this is a year for powerful material manifestation for you, Gemini. You have Saturn on an angle, that the angles are the houses of action and manifestation. That's when it makes a planet so powerful, a planet very powerful when it's there. But you shouldn't rush too much because Saturn is the presiding energy on top of the horoscope. So I know maybe for Gemini, you know, they're very youthful and they're kind of fast sign. You just have to maybe slow down, but not slow down in the sense that you don't have ambitions, that you're lazy, not the opposite. This is not a lazy year for you. This is a year when you can have some of the most important, powerful achievements, big changes in your social status, you know. And again, if you have some problems with authority figures while Saturn is there, you have to respect Saturn. Saturn is on top of the chart, so you need to follow the rules and you need to follow the laws, as I said. If it's some, you know, elderly figure that's whatever, that's being tough on you, again, don't authoritative. You kind of have the gentle approach, and I'll tell you, Jupiter will help you a lot. That would be stay positive, smile, say, okay, you know, don't meet that force with aggression. It's not going to work for you this year. Meet it with the Jupiterian energy, which will be in your sign, which is Jupiter is like, be larger than them. You know, even if someone is condescending, sometimes Saturn in the 10th house, you can attract or experience some condescending energies towards you from someone who thinks they're, you know more. Or again, say, oh, thank you. That's a very wise advice. You can work in a wiser way with Jupiter. Approach of Jupiter is forgiveness. Don't be manipulative. Don't be like, smile, but inside like, oh, I'm gonna revenge you, you'll see. Be like, thank you, because the two big teachers this year will be in the most important points in your horoscope. Jupiter will be in your sign, the benevolent teacher. Saturn, the hard taskmaster. Jupiter is like, imagine this smiley, benevolent teacher that believes in you, always gives you compliment, tells you you're the best, encourages you in exactly the good talents and the right direction for you. While Saturn, Saturn tells you what you've done wrong, you can do better, try again. So you're going to have a mixture of both influences. When Saturn and Jupiter are square, you'll notice that, especially towards the second part of the year, where you have a lot of things confirming your confidence and even people, and a lot of faith in yourself. Then from time to time, Saturn, while it's squaring Jupiter, especially around August, around the 19th, Saturn will square Jupiter from the 10th house in your first, and towards December 24th. So a few weeks around that time, so August and December, you might feel this kind of clash between Saturn and Jupiter. Maybe you're trying to do something, Jupiter in the first house, initiatives, new beginnings, while Saturn from the 10th house, you have to jump some hoops. There might be some delays to it, or someone doubting or asking you to do it better or to be more careful. These are somehow it can play out. So you move forward, you achieve a lot this year, but you do it a bit with caution. Don't rush too much. Follow the rules of Saturn. Again, the higher planet is Saturn. So, and ask authorities. Actually, if you approach people with authority, it can be a boss, can be a father figure, can be the institution, with respect. Saturn loves to be respected. Approach them with respect. Show them the due respect. Even if you inside might not feel it, do it. Show this benevolent side of Jupiter, which is in your sign, how you have to act in Gemini. It will be this year from May, the end of May onwards. Come out like eager to learn. Jupiter is eager to learn. Jupiter is open. Okay, I would accept your advice. Thank you. Thank you for advising me. Thank you for this direction. Jupiter opens you up to the world. While Saturn has more narrow focus, so someone or another part of you would have a more narrow focus on something, being more self-critical or receiving this kind of orders or directions from another government or boss or, authority figure. So you need to combine those two expansion and contraction energies. Yourself, you'll be keeping it expanded, while some of the external influences in your life might be kind of trying to balance it by contracting it somehow. And when Saturn is in the 10th house, another thing that you can do is downsize the responsibilities, downsize the duties, but because you have a lot of them. And it's kind of work smart, work hard and smart. It's necessary with Saturn. So sometimes a person might need to, as I said, to prioritize, not to spread themselves too thin. It's a common thing for Gemini. Sometimes 10 things at the same time. Well, Saturn will help you narrow this focus, especially in regards to career, to ambitions, to goals that you want to achieve. Sometimes Saturn in the 10th house can also change your status from married to single, from single to married. Your status in the world, what it is. But usually Saturn, when it's in the 10th house, one tends to follow their responsibilities. And you're blessed if you enjoy responsibilities. If not, Saturn makes you think really hard and, on really hard on what it is you want to commit to in your life. It's a very strong influence of committing to something. And Saturn goes retrograde when? On June the 30th, so towards the beginning of July. Those who are at around 20 degrees Gemini will feel it very strongly. So that would be, I would give it 3 degrees, 17 to 23 degrees Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising. This is when Saturn becomes stationary, so the whole June and a big part of July it stays around those 20 degrees. So 23, 27, 20 from 17 to 27, and then starts moving backwards back to the 12th degree, from the 20th to the 12th till the rest of the year. But during that time when it's changing direction, some of you might change their mind, make a big, very pivotal decision. Something really important can come in your life that is, connected to this 10th house, career achievements, the direction in your life, or it can be connected to, something Saturnian. But all that are going to have the Saturn transits, everyone from 3 to 20 degrees, but especially 12 to 20, they would feel it the strongest. When Saturn squares, let's go by Sun, Moon, and Rising. If Saturn is squaring your rising from those degrees, the first 20 degrees during this year, from the 10th house, everything that we talked about, that it especially applies to you because it's the Ascendant is here, the 10th house is here. There can be some pressure also on relationships, maybe because of more responsibility, because of a parental figure, authority figure. Maybe more pressure also on contracts, agreement, relationships with clients, because Saturn will square, if it's your Ascendant, from the first 20 degrees will square this. From 12 to 20, that influence, it will be very brand new for you this year. You'll feel it. So there can be some pressure also on personal relationships or relationships with clients. And also some pressure as well physically, but Jupiter is protecting you. And also I want to tell, the second part of the year, Jupiter is protecting your relationships as well. So if some have to go with the Saturn squaring it, if it's your Ascendant there, those degrees, Jupiter will make sure that good ones come, that you attract good ones. And if it's your Moon from those degrees, that Saturn will be squaring this year, 3 to 12 the first 2-3 months, and then 12 to 20 the rest of the year. If it's your Moon at those degrees, you might feel a sense of loneliness from time to time, but also Jupiter will pass over your Moon. So this is, you'll be kind of, it's like there is a lot of support, and Jupiter is extremely powerful in your sign when it's over your Moon. But at moments, there can be some tough decisions to make about family, about emotional relationships as well, if it's your Moon. There can be at moments, some obstacles with family again, parents, mother figure, or there might be more responsibility as a parent, or something that you do with house. And because both Saturn and Jupiter will be activating your Moon, is very manifesting, for example, to make a move or to make some structural changes at your home, because Saturn is about building or fixing, while Jupiter will give you the motivation and enthusiasm or to find the right place, for example. So at moments you can feel this downpull of Saturn on your emotions that feel heavier, that there is some kind of dissatisfaction on personal interrelationships as well with the Moon. But Jupiter will make sure to keep and to protect you, and to protect your mental health, because Jupiter is mental health as well. And you can be a bit more disciplined, helpfully with Saturn square your Moon, with your habits, daily habits and routines. If it's your Sun on those degrees that we mentioned, 3 to 20, but especially 12 to 20, because you'll feel it for the first time, Saturn squaring your Sun. Of course, it can be more responsibilities and duties. I remember I was working, I gave myself a lot more work, even though when Saturn squared my Sun, even though sometimes the immune system can weaken, but Jupiter again from the second part of the year is on your Sun or Moon or Ascendant, so it will keep your health. With some discipline, which Saturn requires, with being a bit more moderate, your health can fantastic actually when Jupiter is in your sign, and improve actually. And the best way to manifest, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, because they all represent your health, is while Saturn squares you, it's best to implement some more self-control, self-routines, discipline. And Jupiter being there will give you the life force, the excitement from the end of May onwards to really make it, to really make those very positive changes in your life. All right. And if it's your sun, as I said, you can again restructure your career. That's very important for you. The sun represents those things. There can be some clashes with male figures or authority figures because both Saturn and the sun represent that. You can feel at moments blocked in your self-expression to proceed with your ideas or to proceed with your inspirations temporarily, because Jupiter will pass your sun as well. 3 times those degrees till 20 for sure. So there will be moments of great elation and moments where you have to tone down a little bit, examine the steps, be more realistic. But I love when Saturn and Jupiter are in aspect, even if it's hard one, because sometimes if it's only Jupiter, as like we'll speak in a little bit, it's too much of a good energy and sometimes we don't do anything about it. It just passes by like a good inspiration, positive feeling. But Saturn, because Saturn feels we're running out of time, I have to do something, I have to contribute something, I have to put this into reality, to organize myself. So when Saturn also aspects, so Jupiter gives the inspiration, the idea, the opportunity. Saturn in the 10th house makes you act on it, makes you push yourself so you don't miss this opportunity. The negative way it can manifest is that the idea comes, the opportunity comes, that Jupiter will bring a few of those for you this year. The negative way it can play is that you beat yourself down or someone tells you, you can't do that. You're not good enough. Or you're like, there are too many hoops to jump, because the low vibration of Saturn is despondence, desperation, thinking that it's no point. It's not worth it. It's never going to work anyway. Who has achieved or succeeded in my life? Or, this is too big. This is unsurmountable. There are too many ladders to climb there. This attitude is not the right attitude. You probably know that. But Saturn will also hold you back, that you don't think, I'm going to do this and this and this. And at the end, doing nothing, At the end, Saturn will help you hone down, more practically and realistically look at what is achievable. So you can focus your energy and action, the 10th house, into the direction. But the inspiration will also come. And with this, I want to pass into Jupiter fully. Hopefully you got an idea about Saturn. So if you have obstacles with father figures or something, bosses, I told you how is the way, the process to proceed. Be respectful and be open-minded to this advice, even if it's someone that you don't really like and they might not be the best person sometimes that is putting this pressure on you. Believe me, Saturn is working for them, because there's some precious lesson for you to learn there that will help you, that will make you, like Saturn is also the one that, that the pressure that creates the diamond. It can come from many sources. God works through everyone. Okay. So let's go through Jupiter. The first 5 months, Jupiter will be in your 12th house. And then we'll go to the really good news. And it's not aspecting any degrees for you. It's kind of behind you. It's in a preparation. And Jupiter is, wherever Jupiter goes, that's where things happen with ease. That's where you can look for divine grace to help you improve that, because we move forward in life through our own efforts, which is Saturn, and through being forced by the universe because of our karma, which is again Saturn. So it's a bit more painful growth, but that's actually the most you benefit from Saturn, through your own personal growth. Hard-earned win is the one that is most appreciated, or we grow through natural evolution, which is Jupiter. These are the impulses of inspiration given to us from above. These feel very good. This is like you suddenly get an inspiration, an opportunity comes to you, you suddenly realize something, or you develop interest. Jupiter is natural enthusiasm towards knowledge, towards learning. So being in your 12th house, the first 5 months, and it's already been for a few months in 2013, since June again. So Jupiter stays in a house for 12 months, a year basically. So you have Jupiter in your 12th house till the end of May. So how can you benefit where things will flow there? Well, you have the green light, for example, to travel abroad to foreign places. Because 12th house, Jupiter gives access. So if you want to relocate to a foreign place, for example, or visit a country, go to a place that they speak different language or it's far away from you, Jupiter can open such opportunities for you, and that expands our mind as well, especially can change our subconscious, and you might even be drawn to a place that you're connected somehow through past lifetime. But it can give you, when we travel to faraway places that are unfamiliar to us, or if you don't have an opportunity to travel, it can be traveling through mystical literature, basically diving into books, into reading, because 12th house is kind of escaping reality, what is normal around you, and entering into a reality which is very different than yours. And the highest manifestation is astral travel. You truly live and travel to other worlds and dimensions, but few of us can do it. But if you have this inclination, no better time to learn to astral travel or to lucid dream, to awaken in your dreams and take control of the dream and experience what you want. So you truly enter a different reality with Jupiter in the 12th house. It allows you to more effortlessly, if you do meditate or whatever spiritual practices, to enter a higher state of consciousness. Or if you do a past life regression, you can see yourself in another life with much more ease. Or if you work in such fields, spiritual, hypnotherapy, psychic, even if you're an astrologer, your intuition increases so much because Jupiter just makes it much easier to download information from the invisible worlds. And it's the right information, because sometimes there is in the astro, there's a lot of untruths as well. Low vibrational pranksters, as they call them. But Jupiter, because it's like the light of God, it carries angelic influence. So it's almost like you have angelic protection spiritually those first 6 months. And in your dreams, you can receive messages, for example. You can have messages or dreams that are prophetic, and you can even, some of you, because Jupiter rules your 7th house of relationships, you can dream about important relationships, help you heal traumas that you haven't resolved. If you start dreaming about someone consistently or a situation in your life, this is an unresolved situation. This is a situation where you are emotionally maybe not mature enough at that time as a younger person to process it and to reframe it. And Jupiter, oftentimes when the 12th house is triggered, our dream lives become very active. And it maybe for you it's similar, but I have a few dreams that are very similar all the time. Either I'm at school and I'm not prepared. And I remember I had it, and I realized that I always felt I'm not prepared for life. I never felt, and I would realize I'm still at school at the age of 39 or whatever. And when Jupiter transited my 12th house, let me give you an example. I started dreaming so much about that. And in the dream, I started realizing, wait, I have a business, I have a family. I don't have to go to school. But because I would always dream I was like in my still 30s or whatever, but I had to go to school because I had to secure my future. Because I had no job and I'm 38, so it's better to repeat the last grade rather than just stay aimless at home, and I was never prepared. So I never felt that I'm coping well with life, and I had to prepare more and so on. And when Jupiter transited my 12th house in my late 30s, for this 1 year, I started dreaming how I'm actually realized that I have a business. I don't have to go to university again or study hard for that, because I've already am doing that. I've done it. So I started realizing that and saying, Okay, I don't have to worry that I'm not prepared for school. Actually, I don't even have to go to school. I can go home and just work and help people already. And that was my healing. Jupiter gave it, and I almost not dreamt about that. And I had another recurring dream about someone that I never managed to heal from this. And Jupiter, when it's transiting your 12th house, in you in particular, you can have dreams or messages about important figures in your life, because Jupiter rules your 7th house and your 10th house. You can even have dreams about your career and mission, or about father figure if it's departed, or about some family, because that's the family axis as well, issue, or about relationship, or you can dream about future partner, who knows, or about unresolved pain from a relationship that you were hurt, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, or close friend, But there can be some really breakthroughs, because Jupiter also joins Uranus, and it becomes, Uranus is sudden eureka moments of realization, of stripping the past in a second, not gradual. Uranus is bam. I'm not longer attached to that. I no longer crave that. And Jupiter will just expand the influence of Uranus. The whole year they're very close to each other, but especially in March, in April, and May, they're very close. Towards the end of April, they're meeting at that exactly. This happens once every 13 years, and it's happening it will never again in your life. Jupiter and Uranus will meet in your 12th house. So they can be, especially this like April, May, some sudden realizations for you, like downloads from invisible worlds, the more intuitive ones, just like the writer of Harry Potter can suddenly download a whole movie, a whole idea. 12th house is where you channel. So watch for messages around this Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. Your dreams, the whole period from the beginning of the year till the end of May, can be very telling, very healing, sometimes very wild. Uranus is there as well. Crazy, but they can have answers. Jupiter and Uranus both rule the future. They can be future there. Future predictions or directions with symbolism. Sudden realizations, and 12th house is the house of deep understanding, intuitive. You don't even have to think the logical steps while you understand it. You just bam, it makes sense. Maybe some spiritual discipline you've been following will suddenly click and you'll break through and see other realms. Or maybe some kind of psychological 12th house rules, working with a psychologist, or even if you don't work with a psychologist, you're reading a book or meditating, or in your dream, just after you wake up, you realize, you get the answer for something. Jupiter, Uranus, Jupiter is angelic wisdom in esoteric astrology, occult astrology. Uranus is divine wisdom. When you combine divine and esoteric, divine and angelic wisdom, it's like the whole hosts of the world, because there is angelic realms and divine realms above them. Beyond the angelic. So imagine those hosts behind you, helping you through your subconscious to clear pain, some trauma from the past, even to suddenly spontaneous remember past lifetimes. Or if you go to a past life regression, you can remember things, or you can remember forgotten things from your early childhood, buried memories, or understand why you're putting certain blocking stones on your path usually they're connected to past lifetime or early childhood that we've forgotten. So 12th house rules anything that we trip ourselves by, our self-sabotaging behaviors, which are buried very deep in the subconscious, as you know. We're not aware of it. Why do you compulsively reach towards the glass? That's why these are our addictions. Why do you compulsively, some people have tics, some people, any kind of something that you do and you don't know why you do it. You don't know why. That's why we call it addictions. You say maybe because you like it, but there is a deep-rooted cause that stems back past lifetimes or current lifetimes earlier. So what Jupiter and Uranus together in this 12th house joining, especially towards the spring or the autumn if you're in the southern hemisphere, is that there can be a sudden breakthrough, realizing this deep reason, this deep motivation behind it, and cutting the cord with that addiction. It's out of your life. Is it drinking? Is it spending? Is it sex? Is it, everyone has something. uh, Everyone is struggling. It might be food, but it's not so much the action itself that you're working on, that you're trying to stop with efforts. It's more like Jupiter and Uranus help you either through a dream or sudden realization, deep understanding of some sort, reading a psychology book or whatever, or spontaneously to get to the really subconscious reason and realize it and make it. Jupiter illuminates like light, the divine, the angelic wisdom, the divine wisdom give you answers there. So if you're looking for answers, even about the future, it can be a great time to have reading with psychics, with an astrologer, to study yourself, such very esoteric topics. Jupiter is knowledge. Uranus is even higher knowledge than that. Uranus rules esoteric knowledge. Jupiter is all knowledge, especially sattvic knowledge that helps others evolve and so on. And society is useful. Uranus is esoteric. So when Jupiter and Uranus combine together, this is astrology and esoteric high knowledge time in a very mystical house for you. House of psychology, of astrology, And those people who are creatives, do you write music? You can download some incredible new direction in music now. You can discover, or even if you don't write music, you can discover new music that fills your soul. Do you paint? Do you draw? Do you make whatever it is that you need to get inspiration? Do you sculpt? People that spend time in isolation creating something, it's very 12th house activity. That's why it's very spiritual activity. That's why they say that painting, drawing, singing, these get you closer to God. That's why there is art therapy. And 12th house is the house of the soul. Anything 12th house activity helps the soul. The high vibration. The lower vibration is a sign of a diseased soul, which is addictions, which is self-sabotaging behaviors that Jupiter and Uranus can illuminate for you, help you break through with those. While some activities like ice, especially the first 5 months of the year, if you give yourself more time to be alone, maybe do some art therapy, because you have Taurus in the second house, and Taurus is very artistic sign as well. Music, smells, food. So you can do your spiritual practices, 12 houses, but they can be anchored to one of the 5 senses. For some can be smell can bring a memory or can change your state of mind. So aromatherapy can be very healing for the soul and bring you back to memories to heal them or change them. Or certain tastes, it can be meditative practice to eat with your mouth closed and then you're fully present. Or it can be your healing practice can be just watching nature, beauty, looking at the flower, walking barefoot in nature. This will be very healing and calming for you. And you as Geminis, anything Taurian, it's what helps you release pent-up emotions and transform past karma, because the 12th house is connected to past karma. It's connected to unfinished business. It's connected to the happiness of the soul and the level of consciousness. It can be through smells, through food, or through massages. Anything that helps you escape the routine, the ordinary, the first 5-6 months can be very beneficial for you. I know you're going to have responsibilities. You can't escape from those with Saturn in the 10th house the whole year. But Jupiter here, especially the first 5 months, gives you a little bit of a break and asks you, when you have time, go to a faraway country, go on holiday, or go to a spa. 12th house rules hotels as well. If you can have occasional times to switch off the world, to be in an environment that's very different or unfamiliar for you, or that is kind of wild and connects you to God more, which is nature. If you can go in spas, or usually nature works great for you for those 12th house activity. It's Taurus. So you can rediscover nature, the beauty of nature, the colors of nature. You can do art therapy to heal. You can do anything, writing, massages, all of those things that can be very releasing, liberating. 12th house is a moksha house, to be freed from the past. but the past can come to the surface while Jupiter is there still, to be healed. So sudden breakup also with addictive tendencies or realizations about, or some secrets can come to the surface with this 12th house. They can be surprises, those secrets, Uranus suddenly out of the blue, Jupiter, but these secrets take you to the right place because it's under the influence of Jupiter. Some missing piece of information can come to you. Maybe something lost, long lost, that you thought you've lost, can be rediscovered for you. Also, Jupiter illuminates the fears, the dark recesses of your soul with light, so you don't have to be afraid of those things. So it can be good for your mental health to work on that, for spiritual advancement and for creative, imaginative people that are in those fields. Or if you're a psychic astrologer, your business or your intuition can be very strong. I had one of my most powerful psychic readings. It was actually my first psychic readings for the first time. Oh, did you see this little angel fly up? That was wonderful, talking about psychic readings. When Jupiter was transiting my 12th house, and I was very lost. I was working at nightclubs, I was drinking. I really wanted to do astrology, but I had no courage, no money. There was no YouTube back then. I had to go in coffee places and offer my services. And I said, there is no way, I'm too proud. So I was very lost. And I called a psychic, my first psychic ever. And without knowing me, she started saying, oh, you're going to be famous. They're telling me. People will know you around the world and you'll be writing books and you'll be making, like, I see you like on screens and I see you on, there was no YouTube. She says, I see you on TV, on screens, people watching you in their homes and you're giving them knowledge. And I'm like, what? No. But that was, she said, oh, it's coming next year. And that's when it started. So you can get some of the, and after that I've spoken with psychics. Yes, I've had some incredible ones, but nothing as precise as this and right on the moment. So this is when we receive spiritual help from departed ones or from our higher self, divine and angelic wisdom. And people that are already spiritual, wow, big breakthroughs can happen. Also 12th house, what else can it mean on a more mundane level? Is, we say it's foreign travel. It's also good for research. If you have to spend time alone, digging deep, needing some deep realizations and understanding, Jupiter, Uranus in the 12th house will definitely give it. But Jupiter can help in the first part of the year for anything to do with home and family, to improve maybe your own emotional happiness, the 4th house. It can even help with 8th house activities with its trine aspect, which is taxes, insurances, inheritances, partners' finances. So I think it's quite good when Jupiter is in the 12th house. It might not be as manifesting as we want, but it's a preparation. This is the break your soul needs, and this is the soul food that you give yourself to be able to start a new cycle of Jupiter. And you'll be thinking about the past and maybe even reaping some of the rewards of the past or realizing some very important things. But then Jupiter moves from May 26 into Gemini for the first time in 12 years. So that was 2012, I think we had Jupiter in Gemini. Think back to that time. I don't know, you might remember something. History never repeats itself. Because after 12 years, you have transformed, you have become a better or worse person. I don't know, usually better. Most normal, decent people always grow. And so there will be a different manifestation, but of a similar sphere of life. So there you go. You're the very lucky sign this year. Jupiter is in your sign. And it's going to be from May 26 to June 2025, next year, the year after that. You have whole year to be the best you can be, to finally remember who you are. This divine wisdom and this is angelic wisdom, kind of comes into you're gonna start feeling more energized, more motivated, pretty much from the beginning when Jupiter enters your sign. Even if you're late at Gemini, yes, you feel the influence of Jupiter if you're maybe 27 degrees Gemini rising or sun or moon, more like 2025, the actual events. But energetically, you're going to start feeling the improved motivation, more faith in yourself, even improved health already from the moment Jupiter enters Gemini. I can give you an example. I was quite down for a bit and I didn't understand why. Like, it felt like life was a bit of a drag. Well, I was having Saturn transits opposite my moon and whatever. And then Jupiter enters Aries, even though my sun is later into Aries. And I started feeling like reborn. My life force came back. I started becoming healthier because Jupiter will definitely strengthen the life forces in you. It makes you open to the energies of God. Somehow your chakras, even without you forcing, start opening and connecting. The chakras start turning that energy, and especially if you're making efforts yourself, they can be wonderful, wonderful opportunities. So Jupiter, as I said, is the benevolent teacher who brings good karma to us because, we, even if we're not deserving, God loves us so much. There is divine grace. But we deserve with past life actions. We've had many, many lifetimes. Somewhere we've done good, So this is when Jupiter enters your sign, this good will start being dispensed to you. Don't think that all the good will pour out on you in this 1 year. Something that will lead you down the road. It will be a dispensation that happens this year and into 2025. That will give you an idea. It will present some opportunity on you. You will start something or you will be inspired into something. You will not be forced necessarily. Saturn can force us. Okay, we have Saturn influence too on you, so there can be a bit of a forcing. So don't worry, even if there is a bit of forcing, whatever new begins now, because Jupiter starts a new cycle, new beginning, whether it's your over sun, moon, or ascendant, something new will enter your life, which will lead you over the next 12 years more on your dharmic path, on the path of more joy for your soul. Dharma is to do the right actions that will give you true happiness, that your soul wants to do, to contribute, to use divine inspiration. So something will happen. So be open-minded to this, especially those that will feel it this year the most. In 2024, Gemini is born from, what degree is that? 11 till 22 degrees. Actually, everyone from 0 till 22 degrees, Jupiter is going to affect you this year. You're going to feel it at some moment. The early degrees already in May, June, the later degrees till 22, maybe towards September, October. Jupiter goes retrograde on October the 9th and starts moving back from the 22nd degree till the 11th degree. So people born between, I would give it 3 degrees orbs, 25 degrees in Gemini and about 8 degrees. So 8 and 25 degrees in Gemini, they will feel it this year. And those around October, September, October, those 22 degrees will feel very, very big change in their life. So even 23, 24 degrees, 21. So 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, Jupiter becomes stationary on those degrees. Sometimes this is the whole September, October, a lot of, from 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, and the next 2-3 degrees. Something massive in a positive way, a big change, turnaround in your life. And even if something happens that you're like, whoa, I don't want that, believe me, this will lead you to something that will lead you to your happiness. Jupiter is your happiness, the true happiness of your soul. You might think you know what will make you happy, but many of us are not truly in touch with our soul. We're more in touch with our ego, what we think our ego will make. And Jupiter does not fulfill personal wishes. Jupiter fulfills the wishes of the soul. So true happiness is down the line. I can give you an example. When Jupiter transited my Sun, 2009, I think, no, 2012, was it 11? So Jupiter was in Gemini last time in 2013, I think. I'm not quite sure. Sorry, I don't want to mislead you. But when it transited my Sun sign, that's when I launched my business. And it became big. I mean, it took me 12 years after that to develop it till my last Jupiter transit the Sun last year. But I did the first steps during Jupiter transiting my Sun. I launched the Astrolada brand. And it's been a source of joy, growth, and opportunities and abundance for me for 12 years. So things that can happen when Jupiter, I can give you multiple examples. I don't know which one will happen for you or something very different, but if you know the energy, that it will be a source of great and abundance for you and opportunities for 12 years. It doesn't have to be complete now when Jupiter is in Gemini. It needs to be started, or the idea needs to come, or something will appear in front of you as an opportunity that will be source of joy and happiness and divine wisdom or purpose for you to wake up in the morning for many years ahead. With the Sun, it can be with your goals and career. As I said, those especially born from 0 to 22 degrees, so especially 11 to 22 degrees, will have the most benefit of this Jupiter in Gemini. For some of you, with the Sun, it can be also connected to depending what house your Sun falls in, because it's sometimes, if your Sun is in the 7th house, it can be a new partner or a new chapter in the life of your partner, which is beneficial for both of you. If the Sun is in your 10th house, say if your Ascendant is, for example, Virgo, but your Sun in Gemini, it can be powerful new beginning that will be beneficial for you and opportunities to grow, to expand your business, your career. If the Sun falls in your 2nd house, it can be financial. In the 4th house, it can be powerful new beginnings for home and family that are beneficial for you, or property. If it's the 8th house, there can be the beginning of some occult knowledge or spiritual or mutual financial beneficial activity of some sort. But with the Sun, you have more free will. So when the opportunity appears, take it. The last time Jupiter transited my Sun, I was thinking, because my Jupiter my Sun is connected to 3rd house, to websites, to business. I thought, I'm probably gonna launch my new website that I've been working on. It didn't happen. I could not complete it, but something else happened exactly on the day. I was like, nothing's happening. Like I expected some big, especially on the day of Jupiter transiting the Sun, I expected, like last time, 12 years ago, success, and I'm successful already. I don't know what else to want. So I was thinking I'll launch the updated, bigger version. But no, someone contacted me exactly on that day and started giving me healing with quantum energy. It was a man. The Sun represents also man. And this person transformed my life. I've been on quantum healing energy since April. That's 6 months. I stopped getting sick. I started being able to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've always slept till 11 because I needed 12 hours of sleep for years. I was really like on my last battery. I didn't realize how miserable I was. I didn't realize how depressed it was. It's like my life force has been renewed, and I thank God every day. So this is one thing Jupiter over the Sun can do: renew your zest for life, your life force. But it happened gradually over the first 2, 3, 4 months of this quantum healing. And it started on the Jupiter transiting my sign. Now Jupiter is away from my Sun in the next sign, but the benefits, I'm sure, will be there for 12 years. So there is like recharging of your life force, recharging of your inspiration, improving of your health with your Sun, for example. If your Moon is in Gemini, what can you expect? Recharging and healing of your emotions. And I remember Saturn will square some of the degrees of the Moon. I mentioned them earlier. But once the Jupiter enters Gemini, your mood will uplift, even if you have some moments of feeling more critical, more dissatisfied, more lonely, which Saturn can do, or some blockages with home, family, property, emotional relationships. Jupiter will definitely bring its healing juices. I compare Jupiter to the energy of spring. I compare Jupiter to the energy life, and they can be, pregnancies can happen with the moon Jupiter transit, becoming a mother, settling down. It's good if your moon is in Gemini, you can buy property sometimes. You can put on weight, yeah. But you can put on weight whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, but not this time, because Saturn will be squaring Jupiter this year, even though it's going to be in your first house. So it's like one wants to expand Jupiter, but Saturn keeps the control over. So with a little bit more discipline, which will come from Saturn, you don't have to blow up, because Jupiter not only expands the possibilities in front of you, but it can reflect sometimes in, expansion of weight, but also because it gives more life force, you can be more active, you can be more improved health, as we said, it can bring you. So with that, when you have more energy and inspiration, and it can bring you something new to wake up for, something new to give you purpose and reason in life. This is Jupiter, purpose, meaning. And with the moon, it can improve relationships with women, or father or mother, and so on. And it depends where the moon is. If the moon is in your 6th house, definitely your health can improve, or your work situation can improve. If it's in the 9th house, you can have some incredible opportunity to study higher knowledge, to travel, to pre-qualify. If it's in your 12th house, the moon in Gemini, for example, you might have an opportunity to again foreign countries, or spiritual upgrade and healing, and so on. If it's your ascendant in Gemini, everything that I talked about is first house. Hello, baby. Everything that I talked about is first house, because the ascendant is, first of all, your physical body. It can be the new beginning for a new routine, health, improvement, rejuvenation. It can be some new lifestyle that you adopt with passion. And Saturn gives you also, because adopting a new lifestyle, not only enthusiasm are necessary, but being constant. And Saturn, with its aspect from above, can help you have this responsibility. New image, sometimes a person can adopt new appearance. I lightened up my hair when Jupiter transited my ascendant. I became that's my normal hair. Here, I became, now I have to go back blonder again, but I became very blonde after that. So Jupiter can lighten things overall. Lighten skin, you can do some procedures as well. But the ascendant is a new chapter in life. A new inspiration can come to you guys. And actually even a new partner, because Jupiter rules the 7th house. Even with the moon in Gemini or the sun, Jupiter transiting your sign can have a direct correspondence to some beneficial influence, benevolent influence coming to you from another person. Good karma you've done to another can come to you, or even a partner can appear that helps you grow or expand or presents opportunities to you. And of course, you need to believe in them and take the initiative. Jupiter also rules your 10th house as the traditional ruler of Pisces. So again, we see the repetition of this theme of career, just like Saturn is activating it very powerfully, making you be more serious, think more seriously about those topics. The same way, the ruler of the 10th house comes into your first house, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, especially ascendant. Definitely new motivation, new vision. You can become clear about where it is you want to head, what it is you want to create in regards to your career, what your mission in life is, and also what you're here to contribute to the world. You might start some big new project or career direction in some sort. I remember I knew a Gemini, and when Jupiter transited Gemini last time, 11, 12 years ago, She started writing. She suddenly says, I got an idea to start writing a book. And she started writing a book because she was a psychic. She started writing a book about how she became a psychic and whatever. So some new venture that can even become over the next 12 years can put you in a higher social status as well. We see a bit of a repetition here, that not a bit, a lot, but it comes through Jupiter, this inspiration that you enjoyed, that you wanted. So Jupiter is also opportunities to study. So they continue. While Jupiter is in the 12th house, you can also research and study. When transit the first house, because Jupiter is in its own house, it's Jupiterian house, so it, manifests those Jupiter things. When it enters into Gemini, again, possibilities for higher knowledge, to understanding, to learn something, to gain better wisdom about something, to initiate something new, but also to study and travel. So all this year, next year, it's good for traveling, I'll tell you. Maybe when Jupiter is squaring Saturn might be a bit more tense. That's on August 19th, so a week before and a week after. Especially if you're born, on the August square, it's happening at 17 degrees. So Gemini at around, let's say, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, or even 14, 15, 16, 17, but especially 17, 16, 18 degrees, they would feel it very strong. The square about August the 19th, that there is some pressure on them, some testing, but something important can be happening, connected to the whole direction in life, to career, to authority figures. And then the next square happens right on Christmas, 24th of Christmas Eve, 24th of December. And it's happening at what degrees? 14 degrees. So someone born from around 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, into that, they can feel the second square as a pivotal moment this December. Okay. So Jupiter in the 12th house, new chapter begins, new opportunities for you. Again, they might not be able to manifest immediately. It might be just something appears in your path. But down the line, when you look back at it, maybe a year from now, a year after that, or a couple of years, you'd realize that was such an important moment, because this is when something that would make my life more meaningful and purposeful appeared in my life. Often Jupiter can be connected, it rules children as well, because children often bring joy or meaning, at least in life. So that's another possibility, or something that, puts you, renews your life force, and the good karma comes to you. So you'll be luckier. Despite of the Saturn square, the luck will be eked out to you at the right moments. Okay, so now moving away from Saturn and Jupiter, and I wanted to tell you that June is actually such an important month for you. Not only because June is when most Geminis have their birthday, or the sun moves in, because the sun moves in Gemini, but because Jupiter moves in Gemini at the end of May. So in June, you're going to start feeling this increased vibration, but it's also because Mercury and Venus will also be in Gemini in June. So that will be one of the most manifesting months for you. In astrology, Gemini astrology, which is ancient Vedic, ancient Eastern astrology, they said that when the ruler of a planet, the ruler of a sign is in the sign, and Jupiter and Mercury are there, this sign manifests the best things. So something of the best, most important and positive thing will happen then. Because we're going to have the ruler of Gemini, which is Mercury in Gemini. We're going to have Jupiter in Gemini. And we're going to have Mercury, because Mercury is also the ruler. So actually, every time Mercury moves, because the Gemini aspect is when Mercury aspects or is in the sign, when it's in Virgo, and then in Sagittarius, and then in Pisces, this will be your most manifesting for positive moments of the year. Let's test it and see, because Gemini astrology was recently translated. It was coded. It was written in code. Only Ernst Wilhelm translated it, so we're testing it now. It's been forgotten for 5,000 years. But this is June, and Venus is the bringer of both benefics, Jupiter and Venus in your sign, and Mercury, who rules Gemini and manifests the best for the sign. So whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, something big and positive in June is happening. And then I think I would even add when Mercury is in Virgo after that, which will be in part of August, and after that towards the end of September. So yeah, I think Mercury will be in Pisces, not till the end of the year, but before that Jupiter is in Taurus. So this will be very manifesting periods. So maybe, so June, think about it, especially till the 20th, the first 20 days of June. Anything big and good you want to do, I advise you to do it then. Whether it's trips, whatever, something important. If you want it to feel great, June is the month. Especially, you can even start from the end of May, the last 4 days of May. If you want to go somewhere, do something new, I think use this time frame, guys. Then we always have to look at the nodes, always, because they cause the eclipses. This year, the eclipses are in good aspect with Gemini. The nodes, they have moved to Aries from July, and Libra. They're always opposite each other. I don't have the other node. Here is Rahu. Sorry, Rahu. They're always opposite each other. They're not planets. They're shadow planets, as they're called. They represent portals of change as well. But you see, they truly create change when they would activate your sign or the opposite sign or square it. Unless you have planets in Libra and Aries, you might not even notice the eclipses this year. I'll mention you when the eclipses are. The first eclipse is on March 25th. It's at 5 Libra with the South Node. A lunar eclipse acts for 3-4 months ahead. So March, you can feel it, April, June, July. There can be some completion of a creative project, for example, if you've been doing wrapping up of some romantic relationship which needs to leave your life because it's the South Node. So it needs to be released, ending up of a karmic cycle connected to a loved one or connected to a love relationships, completing the karma you have towards that. They can be, and it can be release of some ego attachments, because the 5th house is one of the houses of self-expression. The unhealthy way of it being stronger ego, you can release some ego attachments, So it can be weakening for the ego, but it's kind of emptying you of the ego, the eclipses in Libra. There will be another eclipse in Libra, which is solar eclipse on the 2nd of October. And again with the South Node. So again, those themes carry on. But it's a new moon, so it can be new beginnings in love for some of you, new creative project, and it's more spiritual, and it's more almost channeled, or new creative idea that comes to you. Might be an idea for business or something. 5th house is where you download God's inspirations. And the South Node there can allow you to be like a channel, almost without thinking. You can channel creative ideas that come from invisible worlds, for example. And yes, but they can be the start of a new romantic relationship after the October one, which can be more spiritual in nature, for example, rather than, because South Node is not so much planet of desire, it's planet of spirituality. There can be a new chapter in the life of your child, some changes, big changes with children with those eclipses. And the other eclipse in the 11th house, there is just one actually in your 11th house with the North Node in Aries on April the 8th at 19 degrees Aries. April the 8th, it will be active almost for a year after that because it's a solar eclipse. So some powerful new beginnings. It's a solar eclipse, sun and moon together, which means with the North Node, something new. So some opportunity comes to you from friends. Some big change can happen in your social environment, starting from the spring till next year. Like you change friendships, new people around in your life, people that you consider even foreigner or exciting or unusual in some way as well. Rahu breaks the established pattern. Rahu wants you to get out of your comfort zone, but not in a forceful way. Rahu makes it exciting to try new things, to try new social environment, maybe to join different groups, to become active in some social environment. Or because it's Aries, maybe these eclipses in Aries next year, can indicate that you have to become active in something, maybe in rallies, maybe get together with like-minded people and exercise. 11th house is groups of people, not just alone. Get physical, Aries, and Rahu creates more passion wherever it goes, to be around other people, to be around, to participate in conferences, and whatever Rahu is the North Node, you can benefit from it actually materially. In a very tangible way, Rahu makes you benefit. Jupiter makes you benefit in more spiritual ways, in ways that give joy to the soul. Jupiter answers the desires of the soul, the true desires that we're often not aware of, while North Node answers the desires of the ego. So North Node gives us what we really want to. But with North Node, we always have, be careful what you wish for. And the North Node will be in Aries the whole year of 2024 for you till the end. But you'll get a lot of Jupiter will help you align to your soul's desires that will bring you true joy, while Rahu in Aries will help you fulfill some of your ego desires that you've always wanted. And a lot of the ego's desires, Rahu desires, are like fame, recognition, prestige, money, these are the Rahu desires. So hopefully, I think they might actually align to your soul desires this time. It seems possible, But Rahu will help you manifest some of those. You can receive, for example, recognition, more following. When Rahu transits the 11th house, you can expand your client list, more your gains and earnings, some big change in your gains and earning. Rahu loves the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of the North Node because, the North Node is about social status, which is the 11th house, having the right connections. Rahu grows in street smart ways. Rahu grows by, I know this person. They would help me. So Rahu can open doors for you to be in the right place with the right connections. For example, I met famous people when Rahu was transiting my 10th house, who it might not be famous, but it might be driven, ambitious people because it's Aries, who help you initiate something, who push you, or who sometimes, because they also have a personal use from that. Rahu is never without, lower motivations, but it will help fulfill some desire, some long-term goal and dream, more gains, more rewards, as well some recognition like title or honor Rahu gives, because these are, and the thing is that the things that Rahu gives us, they give us temporarily happiness. Well, the things Jupiter gives us, which it will be giving you a lot of, it gives long-term joy, because the true happiness of the soul, just like a child can give you for life joy or worries and both. Or spiritual discipline or knowledge can give you long-term joy, or energy and health, or connection to God, which is all Jupiter things. Well, Rahu gives you the material things, but we do like them in the Western world. Remember that in Western world we say that Rahu, the North Node, is like Jupiter, because people in the Middle Ages notice, when Rahu transits something, it gives you the things you want. So it's like Jupiter, but it's more like the material things. And the things that Jupiter gives you, they might not be forever in your life. Just like fame and whatever it comes, they're temporarily, everything is temporarily in the world. Just the Jupiterian gifts of joy, of wisdom, of peace, we carry them with them over into next incarnation as well. But how good it is to get some of the worldly things that we want, the worldly desires, the ego desires. Of course, there can be a temptation there sometimes with Rahu, like, you only socialize with whoever you consider worthy, you know, we become like a social snob, not necessarily with the rich or the famous. They can be like, oh, I'm socialized with spiritual people, whatever. There is this kind of possibility of Rahu to be aware of it, to involve the ego, or too much thinking of, you know, of that. But you can definitely gain new friends, foreign friends, charismatic friends, or ambitious or successful friends, worldly friends, or such that introduce new interesting things into your life. But of course, the negative side of the North Node in this 11th house of Aries, they can be, sometimes we can get attracted to more deceitful friends, or ones that are there in just for the gain. But you would also gain from that, so. But friends that are a bit fake, or be careful that you're not becoming a fake friend, you know, just whatever you can use. But yeah, your social life can, for example, as well be quite busy, or ambitions, or working on some long-term goal, which Saturn is also helping from the 10th house. Rahu is making you ambitious as well in the 11th house, and can give you fast access to something that you're not ready yet for, but through other people, through some acquaintance, some patronage of someone, or by becoming a member of a group, you can suddenly be shot in a higher position. While you have to work hard here in your career, but you'll make very kind of useful connections, let's say like that. Maybe with people, you know, that can contribute to you. And I keep thinking of my friend, the Gemini, who just Saturn entered her 10th house, and she got given a position of a ruler, basically, what you'd call it here, the ruler. And she says, Ladi, and now the North Node in Aries already from 2023 is transiting her 11th house. She says, oh, I met yesterday the president, and I met the president of France. And it's like, I never believed I would rub shoulders with such people. I was just like a normal housewife here in a small town, and suddenly I'm meeting such people. And so Rahu there can expand your, I'm not saying you're going to meet presidents, but you can definitely rub shoulders with people from different social environment, or people that have more connections. And your connections can really shoot you up fast. You have to do the hard work with Saturn in the 10th house and follow the rules and do it legally, but you can get a very good shoulder from this Rahu in the 11th house that can shoot you up into, for you to fulfill some long-term goal or dream, or to enter certain society, or to receive some financial benefits of some sort. While the South Node being in the 5th house can indicate that maybe you might neglect your love life for a little bit, or maybe you won't have time for it, or maybe you won't be as interested. South Node is a bit of like, I've been there, done that, you know. Maybe you let go of a romantic partner, or maybe you are following social economic goals there in the 11th house, and that's why you don't have as much time for fun, maybe for enjoying, for partying, for holidays, you know. I think while Jupiter is in the 12th house, though, till the end of May, give yourself time, not for crazy wild holidays, time for to be alone, like spa, sanctuaries, massages. We talked about that. But the 5th house kind of holidays, they're like, hey, oh, you know, or just go, let's have fun, let's play sports, let's do nice restaurants. Well, South Node is in your 5th house. Excuse me, Gemini. It's not about you. Well, Jupiter is in your 1st house, very sattvic planet from May onwards, the end of May. So you'd be drawn to more sattvic activities anyway, which are more holistic, which are healthier, so to say, which are more about knowledge expansion. But anyway, the South Node is weakening the ego. This is one of the weak of the ego houses, but the South Node is emptying, because it's the dragon's tail, is emptying the negative sides of your ego. It's emptying the negative sides that might be attached to some unhealthy ways of having fun, for example. It's emptying the part of the side that maybe you're like no longer a party animal, you know. Maybe now you have other goals. Well, your new inspirations have come from Jupiter, some new altruistic goal to look forward to, an inspiration. So maybe some of your own small needs for fun or enjoyments can go on the background a little bit. Or you can be released from certain, South Node has 12th house energy, has excreting, releasing energy. You can be released from responsibility for children sometimes, sometimes a child can be growing now and it becomes more independent, and you notice this. And you are not so having to, South Node can dissolve karmic contracts, so your child can move somewhere. Or sometimes your romantic partner, you might not have enough time or enough interest, not just partying, but romantically, or it can be more spiritual connection. They can still appear romantic partners if you're single. Remember, the rule of the 7th house will be transiting Gemini. That can manifest it very powerfully. But the South Node, romantically, you might be attracted to someone from the past that comes back in your life, because South Node rules the past, or someone even from a past lifetime. That is a kind of more soul connection, spiritual, that can feel familiar, Or you and your partner might be doing romantic activities that are more spiritual in nature, that are more for the soul. I don't know, listening classical music, doing things that are less selfish, more the recreational activities that you can do, which is the 5th house, and enjoyment can be more either of more spiritual nature, more passive and gentle nature, which is the 5th house. And one way it can be like just zoning out watching TV, for example, because South Node can be like, a bit too passive. Or another way is by, I don't know, meditation and so on. Actually, this is very good for spiritual growth, the South Node in the 5th house of the ego, because it loosens the strength on the ego, and 5th house also rules spiritual practices. It's not the 12th in Western astrology. In ancient Vedic astrology is the 5th house, because it's one of the divine houses, the 1st, the 5th, the 9th, so you can have some spiritual practices that are more of the passive nature, like meditation, and Jupiter in the 12th will help thin the walls between the two worlds. Okay, there can be also some spiritual creative projects or some new idea that comes to you that is more spiritual in nature, more altruistic rather than selfish, that can become like your hobby and that can become your passion. But on the negative side, sometimes there can be some issues and loss connected to love, but new opportunity can come because of Jupiter in the 1st house, connected to maybe kind of more detachment and of emotionally, romantically, or from a child, or from a creative project that you complete, or there can be some, hopefully not problems with the child, of course, weakening or it going through some difficulty, but, that's the worst case scenario. Again, picture the best case scenarios. All right. So this is the eclipses, but there is another eclipse that is not connected. This is the axis of the 11th and 5th house that the South Nodes will be in 2020, all of 2024, and then the North Node will move into Pisces. It will join Saturn, Neptune. It will be a party there. It's, for the career things, the perspective will be growing over the next and the year after that and the year after that. There will be some very important developments for not just now, for a few years. But the last eclipse that I wanted to mention is on September the 17th. It doesn't fall on the axis of the 5th and the 11th house. It falls, and it's a lunar eclipse, it falls in your 10th house. It's the first of its kind since 19 years, lunar eclipse with the North Node, even though the North Node is still in Aries, but it's very close. So the 10th house gets eclipsed with the moon, lunar eclipses with Rahu, to receive something, but at the same time, and it's at what degree? 25. So if you're maybe, you might be around 22 to 27 degrees Gemini, where you can feel this eclipse more strongly. But for other Geminis as well, they can also feel it. Where it can be some big, especially if you're Gemini rising, you can have your midheaven anywhere in Pisces. So if it's around 25 degrees, if you know that, exactly the cusp of the 10th house where it is, If it falls in Pisces around 25 degrees, the ancient books say you can become like a king, a promotion over the next 4 or 5 months, because the lunar eclipse is active for 5 to 6 months, around September onwards. High position. Of course, sometimes it can eclipse a career, like a big change, sudden change, because full moon is something has come to, to completion. But because it's with Rahu, something will follow up. So you gain materially through that. So even if it's like disruption to your career, there can be disruption to the career, like sudden change. And with the eclipses, it doesn't take long. It's with eclipses, it's quite fast. It's quite fated. It's been predetermined before you were born, almost. It's like something that you cannot escape, portal of change, but not that obeys what your desires are. It's kind of one of, how there is certain points on your timeline that you cannot avoid. Whether you want it or no, bit not much free will there. So, but we can't tell exactly what it will be, but it might be with your career, with your social status, some big shift happening. When I had an eclipse with the North Node on my 10th house, because my business grew overnight from me working for myself, then suddenly having another 15 people working on the team. So I became like a king, whatever. But sometimes I've seen an eclipse in the 10th house is ending up one career direction or finishing of a project, and you maybe receive the results of it and so on. That is the positive way we can look at it. And it's also father figures, so there can be something very important happening with father figures during that time as well. Now let's move from the eclipses and go to Mercury retrograde, because you are ruled by Mercury. So these periods, every year 3 times, 4 times per year, Mercury goes retrograde. That's the fastest moving planet after the moon. That's why, and Mercury constantly becomes visible, invisible, retrograde, direct. That's why you're so diverse. That's why you're so adaptable and flexible. Your planet is roller skating, disco over the sky all the time, appearing, disappearing, moving between the world of the visible, invisible, the gods and the humans all the time. Busybodies. In this year, you will be such busybodies too, especially when Jupiter enters your ascendant. But yeah, Mercury starts retrograde. It has 3 retrograde this year. The first one is the whole of April, pretty much, from the 1st till the 25th. And it's going to be retrograde in Aries. It's actually sextiling you. So the trend of Mercury pre-shadow starts in May. A new trend opens up, and Mercury there will be with the North Node. So those themes will be very active. Maybe friends from the past will come back. Maybe we'll reconnect with people that you haven't seen for a while, or maybe someone will come back to offer you something. Maybe there'll be increased communication activities with like-minded people, but also Rahu is there, so it can be even more enhanced. There can be something important in April with communications concerning larger groups of people, or your mind being focused on the world events, becoming active socially. But of course, there can be a little bit of a test of friendship during that time. Something that was not said can be said, or something you find out about, or some changes are happening in the life, in your social environment, or with your friends around April. But it's very happening because Venus will also be there. Venus, Mercury, the North Node, and the Sun. So that's April is very busy for such sign of long-term goals, working on something with a larger group of people, being involved online, or being involved with the worldly activities, or politics or something like that. But with Mercury retrograde, I think, and 11th house is house of business. Just like Rahu will help you grow business and gains, very likely this year, for sure. Through connections, Mercury can bring you back some old connections while it's retrograde, or make you work on some business projects starting in basically March, April, and the middle of March till the middle of May, on some project that is, has to be brought up in front of the public. The 11th house can be very busy period for that, on some title and honor that you're completing, on some project that you have to present to a larger audience. It's great time to revisit marketing, strategizing, also to decide which groups you want to belong to, because you might remove some from your life, or might put certain rules and say to some friends you cannot do this or that, or usually though it might be just meeting up with friends you haven't seen for a little bit, while also making new ones, because the Rahu is there, new energy, Venus, the Sun, which are direct, so that's kind of more socially busy period, but it's helping you. It's gainful, the right contacts maybe, and so on. But they can be important events connected to friends, social circles, business. Then the other Mercury retrograde is happening in August. It's partly in your 4th house. So it starts from July and it finishes in September pretty much. But it becomes retrograde particular on, let me see the dates, August the 4th to August 28th. So pretty much all of August. So July to mid-September is the whole period, but all of the August Mercury is retrograde. But something happens here. Maybe some project with a small group of people. Again, it's a business house that Mercury will be retrograded, and social. So again, you might be meeting with friends in this period. I don't want to give you just the period of the retrograde, because oftentimes the themes start 2-3 weeks before that. So partly July, August is very intense, and to the middle of September. You might be again reconnecting with people from the past, so going back to revisit some business project. 3rd house, another house of commerce, writing, marketing, advertising. So you can be doing, and it's helping you with sextile. It's going to be a very productive period for anyone who studies or does business or does interactions with clients, because they're going to fix something that is not working as well or going to make it better. Yes, it's frustrating because there might be some problems in communication, in devices, in how things are running. But you see what the problem is, and the Mercury retrograde period allows you to fix it. So if there is missing details, emails, papers, documents, or passwords, be careful, with papers, documents, password. Mercury retrograde will help you realize that and fix it. Yes, things might not go according to plan, but there might be nice surprises. And even if you have to redo some project or revise something or use extra mental effort during that time, that's definitely more of your skills, communication. You have to make more of an effort. 3rd house is schedules and plans. They might be out of sorts. It's kind of, you have to be more flexible, which you're good at anyway. But usually by the end of this process, by the end of August, you would have created maybe more order in your communications, in your business. Maybe you'd have improved your marketing plan. Maybe you'd have worked and completed something, some commercial or business or intellectual or media project, writing, speaking project, which you'd have, even if it was delayed during the retrograde, you maybe saw how to do it from a different perspective. Even if there's some delayed communication or information, again, after the end of August, it picks up. And complications there with siblings, relatives, or friends get resolved. But Mercury is also partly retrograde in the 4th house in this period, especially the first 5 degrees Gemini. They might feel it more strongly, like more disruptive energy, because Mercury is retrograde in the first 5 degrees of Virgo, so it will square the first 5 degrees of Gemini. Okay, as I said, plans can be disrupted, maybe around family as well. Some unexpected things, some important conversations that have to be brought up to the surface to communicate with family from the past. Maybe you discover some piece of information about family or something to do with land or property that might have to be reworked, or that you discover about something has to be changed about it as well. Or maybe digging more into the past, thinking back into the past. So maybe doing something around your property that needs more organizing, management, redoing in a different way, reordering. And then the last Mercury retrograde, now this is the big one to watch out, because it's happening right across your sign in Sagittarius. Now that's one you'll notice, it's starting on November 24th till December the 15th. I think all of the November and December period, there is a theme starting that is involving, that is connected to other people, and the sun will also be there. So maybe even Venus. This November-December period, something can appear, someone in your life, some relationship, partnerships, or it might be new, or it might be already existing, that will undergo some transformation during the retrograde period. Maybe you'll see at your existing relationships with partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, or a best friend, or clients, you'll see it from a different angle. Maybe you'd find out something about them that makes you think differently in a positive, you never know. Maybe you bring up, your partner's clients or partners will bring up something from the past to be said. Maybe something that's been upsetting you might come to the surface that you want to discuss it. And ultimately, the goal of Mercury is to make relationships more harmonious, more fair, with equal fair. It sounds a bit like Venus, but Mercury wants to do the same. Mercury is the planet of rules. How we're going to play the game between people. So it's going to be like, if we're going to play this game as a client or as a client and service giver, as a husband and wife, as boyfriend, girlfriend, as friends, now let's set up the rules. This is what I don't like, or this is what I expect more from you, maybe not in such way. You remember the whole tone for this year is very Jupiterian for you, especially the second part. Be more benevolent, but you'd become more aware of certain things in others, and even others can approach you and say something. So the rules of the game in this relationship can be made more fair. So yeah, in some cases, there is a possibility that certain partnerships, collaboration might end because it's revised during Mercury retrograde period, or it can go through a crisis. If the relationship is quite weak, there is no desire to renegotiate the terms and conditions, so to speak, from one side, it might end, which can be good, We need change, and these retrograde planets give us the option to change, to opt out of a commitment or contract or agreement sometimes, which is our seventh house, or with someone, or someone to opt out with such with us, or to be, in most cases, is actually to state things that from the past that were not stated, and to maybe even reminisce about the past a bit, and to agree on better terms of the game. So actually, after this Mercury retrograde, by Christmas time, you can have a much better relationship, much better contract. You can renegotiate the contract. Of course, it's not good to sign brand new contracts when Mercury is retrograde, especially in your seventh house. So getting married, don't do it in the spirit, in particular for you. But if you have an old contract to renegotiate or to change some of the clauses, or if you have an old or you can reconsider a relationship from a different way, have some important clarifying conversations with another. It can be even a friend. Also, there can be something in your partner's life that they're going through a mercurial time where you have to be more invested in helping them with something, or you might be investing your time in working in a partnership with someone. There might be some delays during the retrograde, or some readjustments, or having to redo the project together in a partnership with another, go over, edit, fix, improve. These are all the things, talk over some stuff. Sometimes negotiations can get dragged on because they need to be renegotiated over and over a few times or one time, but usually is to find a better alternative and better terms at the end. And then the deals and things can start going according to expectations after that, after having something changed a little bit there. And of course, on the positive side, this Mercury retrograde can bring old loves into your life. You can go down back my memory line, is that what it's called? Or friends. I had Jupiter retrograde. I had Venus even retrograde in my seventh house this year. I just resonated with people I loved a lot. You can reconnect with friends during that time, with loved ones. This December, basically, till the middle, get in touch with people from the past. But if you have a bone to pick with someone, that can come up when you really state those things that are bothering you and how you want things to be different, or someone to do it to you, or some breakup of contract that we talked. So this is the most important one. This is when the most Mercury retrograde things can happen to you, but they can be quite good as well. Not always, oh, broke my phone, someone stole, oh, I'm always late for meeting, oh, every meeting I arranged. Just don't start studying something brand new then, or, because Mercury is you after all. You don't want, when it's retrograde, it's time to really look at already existing things from a different perspective and improve them. Okay. And then we're going to have at the very end of the year, Mars going retrograde. And you're kind of lucky because it does not affect Gemini, unless you have something in Cancer, because many Geminis might have Venus or Mercury there, especially from 0 to 70 degrees. Then it can shake you up much more. But Mars will be retrograde from December the 6th till February 23. It's usually, what is that, couple of months? The whole December, January, 3 months almost. 2.5 months. Mars will be retrograde starting from Leo. It will get to 6 degrees Leo, which means that the first 6-7 degrees of Gemini are helped by this Mars retrograde. You see, sextile. Even if things are going a bit slower, or with extra effort needs to be made, which retrograde planets always ask for, but they give 3 times better results after. Once they straighten out, the result is 3 times more lasting. So where are the efforts that you might have to be doing? It's again in this Leo energy where Mercury was in August, which has to do with siblings, relatives, neighbors, for part of the year, especially maybe November, part of December, where they might be having to resolve something. Especially if Mars is making hard aspect from this 3rd house to other planets, if you have planets in Taurus or Scorpio or Aquarius or Leo themselves, there can be some stressful situations with relatives, with siblings, with teammates, workmates in your team environment, for example, that has to be maybe some more competitiveness, or it's Mars, imagine arrows, or maybe even harsher words. I remember when Mars went retrograde in my 3rd house over all my planets, actually I pulled back because I was kind of very combative at that time. I was seething within. I wanted to speak up my truth. 3rd house is communication. I wanted to say to everyone, are you blind? Why are you taking those poisons? But I was, first of all, I was trying to say to everyone, you know what I mean about, you might be a different opinion, but that was mine, and I just wanted the whole world to know. But my mouth there was a lot of censorship then, so I pulled back. I said to everyone that needed to hear as much as I could. I warned astrologically and everything, and Mars went retrograde in my 3rd house, so I withdrew and I said, retrograde, pull back, and I had to learn when to talk. So if you're someone that talks when inappropriately or when it's not the right time, Mars makes you realize, because there can be consequences when Mars retrograde in the 3rd house. If you, there can be, retrograde something to make you think. So that was a great lesson that, yes, state your truth, but state your truth, but don't push it into other people's, otherwise you're going to start arguing and fighting and have no mental peace of mind. So if you're like that person, you might have to pull back a little bit socially, even reevaluate. That was a period when Mars went retrograde in my 3rd house, where I truly realized, who do I want to hang out with? Because it's a social house. I didn't remove, but I was deleting people. I didn't want to see certain feeds in my comments, so I was deleting. I was reevaluating because they were annoying me. I didn't want this information. 3rd house is the flow of information. What do you read? What do you speak? Who do you talk to? Whose posts do you read? Who do you follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? So that was a big reevaluation for me. And I was like, I started following different people, and I was like, I don't want this propaganda or whatever. So I'm not saying exactly the same will happen to you, but they might be like, they want those people in my life. And these are not like people that are like your biggest love or whatever. These are more acquaintances, friends, colleagues. There might be some bond that you that some situation. So try to be more tolerant for the opinions of others and expressing yours. Or if you're the opposite, if you never say your opinions, if you're always tolerant, you'll be seething to do it. But with Mars retrograde, you have to be like a little bit like when you communicate, smart as a dove, smart as a snake, wise as a dove, because it has the Scorpio qualities, a retrograde Mars, not the Aries one. So you need to be like more selective with your communications. You need to be more, you can be very sharp with words and others as well in your communications. You can notice the impulsiveness, because the energy of Mars when retrograde is so powerful that it can come like arrows attacking others. But with the retrograde period, you'll be trying to learn to use your words more masterfully, use again the arrow at the right time, at the right place, but without shooting them everywhere. And this is a good lesson for Gemini. So more targeted, more controlled, more deliberate. There is this energy of more deliberateness, nervousness, and planning, like the Scorpio energy. With this third house activity in your communication with relatives, with neighbors, even if you have some bone to pick, is that what it is? With neighbors, siblings, relatives. When Mars turns direct, you sort them out the next year after that. But you might be dealing with such matters. Or you might be active in some project with a small group of people. The retrograde period, you might have to redo something over, revise it. You might be revising some information, some knowledge on the website. If you have anything media, marketing, advertising, anything to do with making videos, writing, speaking, or if you're a teacher in a school, it's your communication, presentation. You might be kind of reevaluating it, fixing it, changing it, improving it. Mars is a soldier which wants to perfect things, to fix things, you know. You might be working on some written book, whatever, and you need to put a lot of mental energy into editing it, or maybe some old skill that you need to pick up, already existing skill that you need to use even more. Or maybe you can start some new skill at the beginning already from when October, when Mars first enters, or kind of November when it enters into the third house, Leo, that you can start to learn some new skill. And the retrograde period, December and February and January and February, you might be, you know, that's the difficult part when you're working hard to make it, to integrate it, whatever that skill is, to make it more natural to you. And when Mars turns direct again after that, might have mastered a difficult skill. Again, a retrograde planet requires 3 times more effort. It's slower, but it gives you an alternative to do something differently, or to do something better. That is, after that, when the planet turns direct, it's 3 times more longer lasting. So something with internet, information, learning. Third house is studies as well, possible, a skill of some sort. But the big part of Mars retrograde is happening in your second house. And that's going to be felt especially in January, in February, into March. It starts in October, so October you feel those themes, January, February, March. So maybe something from October will happen that's connected to finances and resources that will finish at the end of April. That's the whole period. So Mars will spend the most time in this second house of yours, not directly expecting you, but the biggest changes this Mars retrograde wants to do now is with your finances, with your approach to money. So during the retrograde period from December 6th to February 26th, don't take financial risks into something totally new, but you can make changes in already existing finances. There might be some extra expenses, that's for sure. During that period, some unexpected. Mars is quite unpredictable planet. Its movement is quite unpredictable, where it's going to appear when. So during that time, there can be some vacillation when it comes to finances, so some big structural changes you're doing. And Mars can be very initiative planet where you undertake something that will have a long-term influence on your finances, but it might first destabilize or kind of make you put a lot of efforts and energy in working something that kind of slows down, picks up, there's obstacle. But then when Mars turns direct already towards February, March in particular, April onwards, you might see that actually the efforts that you've put towards securing, and the courage, Mars's courage towards securing some some financial stability can start paying off. And another thing, the second house is teeth, and Mars is inflammation. Be a bit more careful. Maybe go and do some checkups of your teeth. That might be good time actually to do your teeth while Mars is in Cancer. Or if you have an old tooth that needs fixing, changing of something, this is when the issues can come up to be fixed. And Mars is, of course, sharp instruments. But the second house is also the food that you put in your body, the liquids. Now, Mars can make us a bit hungrier when it's in the second house. Mars rules hunger anyway, this drive, this desire. So when it's there, some of you might feel that if you start feeling it from October and then January, February, remember, 2025 we're talking already, January, February. Remember that it might be Mars, you might be a bit more impulsive with such things, but Mars gives you a rare opportunity to activate your willpower. Mars rules the willpower. And when Mars is retrograde, the willpower can be more stubborn, more intense, because Mars is super bright in the sky. In ancient astrology, retrograde planets are very powerful because they're twice as close to Earth, or even 3 times, than when they're direct. They just act in more unpredictable way, but it's only so it can give us an alternative state of mind. And this time it is regarding food and how you eat. So you have a rare opportunity maybe to change something with your food, what you put in your body, how you take care of your teeth, and to actually use your willpower while Mars is retrograde to implement it, even if there are challenges at moments, to really change it in some way. Going back to valuables and property, you have to be careful that Mars, a possibility for damaging property, losing, or even thieves or someone not well wishing, in some way damaging property or losing or something during that period, or spending much money. It's Christmas time, obviously. But where can the spendings come from? Mars rules your 11th house. You might be spending in investing because of some long-term goal or dream of yours, some business initiative as well, or to participate in some events that are connected, or because of friends, or because of participating in some events with more people. Mars also rules Scorpio for your 6th house, might be for health, or for office supplies and such kind of work of some sort as well. But anyway, don't think it too hard, don't sweat it too hard. Mars is not directly aspecting you. It's not squaring you. It's in Leo, it's sextiling you in the 2nd house, unless you have planets in Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn. It's not gonna truly be much of a problem. All right, and now I want to give you the influence of the special planets, the Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because they stay in a house for many years. Uranus for 7-8 years, Neptune and Pluto up to 20 years in a house. They are not felt unless they make an aspect to your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or some other planets, but here we look only at Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. So for Gemini, Uranus is in the 12th house. We talked about it. It's going to join Jupiter. So there can be some unexpected travels abroad, or opportunities coming to you from abroad, or insights, or cutting with the addictions, and so on. But it doesn't make direct aspect to Gemini. Neptune, though, does. Remember when I told you Saturn will be affecting most Geminis till 20 degrees, even the later Geminis can feel it, but those that are in the last 3 degrees, or actually even from 25 till 30, in the last 5 degrees of Gemini, they feel much more Neptune. So this year, Neptune they can start feeling already Saturn, but Neptune is very intense. It's gonna square your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. Go ask earlier born Pisces what happened during their Neptune square. But those who are from 25 to 27 degrees Gemini, they already felt Neptune from 2023, even a bit before that, 2022. Now 25 to 27 degrees will have it for the last time, so they're familiar with those feelings and those things that I'm talking about, that I'll start talking about. But those from 27 to 30 degrees will have it for the first time, and it will carry on into 2025, even into 2026 a bit. But, in particular, this year, 27 to 30 degrees, they're not going to have the Saturn influence yet. Well, next year, they're going to have the Saturn influence, so it's going to change it quite a bit. So some of the negative sides of Neptune, let's start with those with the law of vibration. It can be confusing. You can feel more like a victim. It's the energy of Pisces, basically. The law of vibration of Pisces is just like total apathy or confusion or lack of motivation or stagnation even. Feeling invisible, feeling like the underdog in some way. Even kind of depressions, mental health can suffer, especially towards the moon. One can be too emotional, sensitive. Towards the sun, more like lacking directions. There can be deceptive relationships in life towards the ascendant, or even one being hard to identify themselves, what role they want to play, confusion towards the direction in their life, or not having the willpower and focus. It's just when you have a Neptune transit, it's happened once per life, for 1-2 years. It's almost like God says, now circumstances outside of your control take over. So if it's your sun, moon, or ascendant in those degrees, last 3-4 degrees, the universe says you have to realize that sometimes whatever plans you have, you're not in control. Sometimes the circumstances, Neptune represents the god Neptune, the oceans, the things beyond us. There is divine plan that sometimes, or external circumstances, are bigger than your own plans. And sometimes you need to trust God. Let go and let God. Those losses, sometimes losses happen, confusion, all of those Neptunian things don't happen just so God is vindictive, or let's see what happens to you when you're put in those circumstances. It happens so you can remove your resistance to the divine. So you can start when everything sometimes is like you try to make Neptune dissolves. Whatever you're trying, especially if you're someone who is used to seeing very specific, pragmatic results in the world, to have control over the events in your life and in the world, when Neptune comes, whether it's squaring your sun, moon, or ascendant, you start feeling like, well, I did my best. Why am I not seeing results? But don't worry, Jupiter is in your sign, so there will be a lot of spiritual support as well. But those last 3 degrees, Jupiter doesn't get to them in 2024 yet. So that's the ones that I'm talking for specifically, no one else. Or the last 4 or 5 degrees, let's say. So you might feel like, I've been trying everything. Why is not manifesting? It's not happening like I want. Or it's like I'm throwing my energy to the wind, or I don't have it, or I'm confused. It is, so you can, these are the moments when there are losses and you don't know why. Like, what's the purpose of it? This is when you turn to a higher power. When you feel in a victim state, you shout out and say, please God, help me, if you're there. But if you're already spiritual, if you already have an established belief in higher power, and then you learn to trust that when you go with the flow, God will take you to the right place. But it's very hard for most of us, especially more masculine driven people. Like Gemini is a masculine sign. Not saying we have muscles. We like to get things done, and we like to rely on ourselves. And with Neptune is like, don't start feeling sorry for yourself, but turn to a higher power and trust, and start floating down the river. And if it's your sun there, if you can't figure out what you want to do, there is dissatisfaction, loss of direction, or loss of a male figure in your life, or some deceptive relationships, or some deceptive situations, whether it's with the sun, the moon, it's possibility, or the ascendant, illusions and so on. You have to go through it, and just take care more of your soul, mental health, and you do Neptunian things as remedy. What are those? Reading spiritual literature. Neptunian things is listening to music, classical music in particular, soothing music, connecting with nature. Neptune is one of the planets that rules. Neptune is divine love and to connect with God. And oftentimes we only reach out for divine love and to connect to God is when we feel we're in a helpless situation. Don't let it go to that. Consciously connect with God. Consciously allow yourself to give yourself a break. It's not always about external achievements, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant. Yeah, there might be areas in your life that push you to fulfill your responsibility. Saturn is in the 10th house. You can't escape them. But don't always, Neptune is asking you, do the best you can, but don't have expectations for the final results. It's a very spiritual attitude to accept if you can do it. It's just for a year and a half, couple of years. And if you accept this more like a witness attitude, observing, and I think Jupiter being such a spiritual planet and the South Node also in one of the self houses will really help you, Gemini. Will really help you. They're both looking, Jupiter is in your sign, South Node is looking at Gemini. So it will help you have this more spiritual perspective on life that Neptune requires us to pass through those periods. Give yourself more time of break. You might need to sleep more. Your circadian cycle, because Neptune rules sleep, might be changed. But I think Jupiter can help from, it's in the 12th house with this. Also, give yourself more time around water, in spas, in relaxation. You don't always have to push yourself. You don't have to be lazy, but you need more alone time when you have Neptune transit. Maybe work with a psychologist. Neptune, helps to understand. Try and point out your emotions. Neptune is planet of emotions. To name them, to understand how you feel. I remember when I had a Neptune transit, I felt helplessly in love with someone who was not available. Talk about deceptions and illusions, And when Neptune is around, you often are willing to give more of yourself, to give someone a finger. Just be careful that they don't take the whole hand. But you become more, Neptune finally wants to refine your kindness, your compassion. You become more compassionate. Some people, I remember my mom had Neptune transiting her sun, many planets in doing. I said, are you falling in love or losing your head or feeling emotional? She said, no, I'm listening to a lot of music. She was already in her 50s or something. She says, my soul feels filled, like I feel spirit, I feel God, even with the hard aspect. So she said, and she was listening to a lot of music. She didn't have, temptations to fall for other people, but she says, I don't, and I remember and I daydream about your dad and me holding hands. Or she went into a very romantic, idealistic space in her head, and she said she was resting, walking around a lot, listening to music. So these are Neptunian activities, and there is even remedy. If Neptune is making aspect to your moon, you can maybe make paint it yourself even best, of something connected to both Neptune and the moon, oceans, dolphins, starry nights, the moon, or a woman, mermaid. The moon is woman, Neptune is fishes. Or with the sun, you can do something combination, the sun, dolphins, and whatever. So you have to do some of those Neptune to honor Neptune, spiritual literature, foreign travel as well. Just make sure you don't get lost, because Neptune is to disappear, But that's good, actually. Neptune towards the moon can be relocation. Neptune towards the sun can be change of career, especially people that you can spiritualize your career as well. And towards the ascendant as well. You can become more romantic, more dreamy. Just be careful that it's a square. There can be deception possible. I'm not saying it there always is. So incorporate some fine arts, graphic, some music, these fine arts that humans have created. And spirituality and all those things. And if you're in Neptunian careers, actually, that can be great for you. Psychic, spirituality, film, art, music, psychology. You can have, even with the hard aspect, big, or you can direct your career in such direction. If Neptune is squaring the moon or ascendant or sun, you might be hard to follow routines, and it might be, if you have inclinations, addictive, to be easier to slip into them or to escape reality. But do healthy ways, like more time alone, or going to a foreign country, or to hotels. It has this 12th house energy. Some kind of isolation a little bit, to meditate, to think, to contemplate, to relax. Hopefully not with substances or whatever, but it is possibility. Neptune can increase it. But people definitely have seen them turn to God and have spiritual, mystical experiences as well, which is the highest vibration of that. But you almost have to switch off and dim away the external world. That's why sometimes people lose jobs, or when Neptune is having such an important transit in their life, lose jobs, or are given time to be lay and be, in worst case scenario, sick. So make sure you check your health, or less energy, so more sleep. So this is when their soul can, when the body weakens, or the pull of the external world, and the pleasures don't feel as joyful of the external world, what used to give you pleasure and joy. So you withdraw within and you connect with spirit. So think of it as the highest ultimate manifestation. Enough about Neptune. But if you're a Neptunian career, because Neptune is in the 9th house, this can be one of the most creative periods for you. If you're taking care of those in need, if you're in charitable work, if you're in artistic, spiritual, musical, healing, doctors, can be very, very important. But your immune system can weaken when Neptune squares the moon, the sun. It's just, especially the body becomes more moist, wet, so kind of colds and things like that. So you need to get something warming to warm you up, like warming herbs, like chamomile, to bring some of this life more, the garlics and so on, because Neptune also rules funguses and small invisible bacteria. Don't worry, but still remember if something like that appears, to know it. And then the other planet that will affect a very small number of you is Pluto. It's moving back into your 9th house from the 20th of January. So pretty much the whole year it will be there. It will move out again from September till, what was it? September till November. So for about 3 months it will be still in your 8th house, but it's most of the year it's in your 9th house, which is very supportive. It will stay there for 19 years. That's why I keep saying Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, the 3 air signs, will be very adapted to what's coming, because Pluto is trining. They'll be very much in line with, and they will adapt to the very fast changing environment. Pluto moving into an air sign for 20 years. The social circumstances in Aquarius will change so much. Everything is changing. You see AI, technology, which is Aquarius, where Pluto is moving, they'll change everything. The financial economic system will change, which is also Aquarius. And you as Gemini, because Pluto will be making a trine for the next 19 years to all degrees in Gemini, little by little, you will be the ones that adapt the fastest, and they seize the opportunities of the changing social order faster than anyone else, and you'll benefit. So I think you'll be like leaders and like teachers. Some of you might even take teaching positions or consulting, advising, because you have the most insight, Pluto in the 9th house, into the future trends. You'll have the most penetrating ability to see where things are going and to control them according to your will, because Pluto has that tendency. And because Pluto trines yes, everyone will be shaken up by what's happening, but for you, you'd quickly grab the opportunity. The trine is a sign of opportunity. And especially in 2024, the first people born in 0, 1, 2 to 3 degrees in Gemini will be strongly supported by Pluto. So, of course, your belief system will transform over the next 19 years. Even other Geminis born later than the first 3 degrees can start feeling it, how they're having very deep and penetrating belief system, how maybe there is some existential crisis where all their beliefs are being destroyed first. And what they thought was reality is being really kind of changed. And again, you see, Pluto is the destroyer and recreator. Will be for 19 years in another self-house of the ego. It will destroy the old beliefs and the old layers of yourself. You see how 3 very important points, the South Node, Pluto, and Jupiter, are in the air signs, which are your self signs, your confidence, your sense of who you are. And they're very spiritual influence. Pluto is evolution of the soul. South Node is spirituality. Jupiter is higher knowledge. There is this trine forming here. I think you'd do a big work on your spiritual progress, guys. I think you peel a lot of layers of your ego. All Geminis over the next year. I think you would let go of unwanted beliefs, let go of unwanted old ways of self-expression, the 5th house, that are not serving you, and you'd rediscover a new you. You'd rediscover a new inspiration, a new purpose to live. And Pluto will help you also destroy those old beliefs about reality, because whatever beliefs we have about reality, this is the highest expression of ourselves. The 1st house is our body, who you think you are. 5th house is how you creatively express yourself. And the 9th house is your beliefs. This is the highest expression of yourself. If you change the beliefs, you change everything else. You change your whole life. That's why the 9th house is the most important house in ancient astrology. Change the beliefs, your health will change. Career, your health, your self-expression, everything, your inspiration, your connection to God. So some of you can have really powerful spiritual experiences and spiritual awakening, or be called to transform beliefs and so on. But the first 2 degrees, Pluto will trine the Sun. For example, if you're first 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3 degrees, Pluto, if you're in those degrees, what can I tell you? This is great. More willpower, more strength. You see, more those first 3 degrees, Saturn squared them in 2023, so they were tested a bit. But now Pluto will give them sense of power, accomplishment. If you've worked hard on something during 2023, and even if it was blocked or difficult, Pluto now will make you feel wow. Because Pluto's trine does not destroy you first, it empowers you. Yeah, it can make you dive into more taboo, dark things, or things that you never thought you'd dare do. But Pluto will give you the willpower and the strength. Some powerful, charismatic male can appear, or a teacher in your life who can bring good karma from the 9th house of good karma as well, dharma, who can be, or inspirational teaching that strengthens your sense of self and who you are. They can be good things connected to male figures in your life, powerful people entering who can help you in some way as well. But your own self-expression, which is the Sun, will be expressed in a more authentic. Pluto is with more power as well in some way. You can get more power. If you're in fields like psychology, the occult, astrology, healing, transformation, very positive transformation can happen to your self-confidence and self-image. If it's the Moon, can be pregnancy, but good one, easy, can be improvement in your home life, personal life, emotional life. It can be emotionally charged, erotically charged as well, relationship with a woman or another person, It can be a partner that you emotionally bond to, but in a positive way that is not manipulative, that is more like the positive high vibrations of Pluto that opens to you depths and so on. It can be good if you're the first 3 degrees of Moon to make renovations, transformations of your home, repairs, to bring back to life. This is Pluto. Bring back to life something in your emotional world, psychological world, place of living, or even to resolve psychological issues with your mom or family, to have some healing there. If it's your ascendant, everything. The same as the sun and the moon, but include everything. Always the ascendant. Especially it can give you power to have more control over how you look. The first 3 degrees of Gemini, more power to be maybe some intense and beneficial falling in love can come to you, because it's Pluto from the 9th will trine the first 3 degrees and the first 3 degrees, and trine and sextile the house of relationships. Some, intense Plutonian relationship, but not in a destructive way, in an empowering, in a sexual way as well, or intense, like, oh, you're mine. Or some, again, people, interesting Plutonian people, not necessarily sexual relationships, can be entering your life, or even like a teacher figure or new belief system that is very deep and intense. And Pluto square trining the ascendant can give you more control of the body, of the health, of the physical, strengthening of the immune system, to overcome diseases, those first 3 degrees and so on, and to undertake something that requires more willpower. Woo! Gemini, you're getting almost a 3-hour video. All right, maybe I had to speak longer about you. Maybe you needed it. You do, because the most important influences, Saturn and Jupiter, will be the most important houses for you. Thank you so much. I hope that was helpful for you.